2 years, but I know how the freaking real world works. And like line is freaking spot on, man. Match
Yo,
repeated it. Concrete's repeating it.
No one said any
yo,
statistics. You're
Mr.
just
So
saying
Finley
they
so
just
so
exist.
so
found
Finley, so
Mr. Finley
Finley,
just
so
found out
Finley,
about
so
upside down
Finley,
pineapples, and now he can't stop talking about
Finley,
swinging.
Finley. Do you think
Shut up, now.
Finley? Do you think you would have been more attractive if you had an MBA also,
Michael, I have
or
multiple
just?
degrees. My income absolutely makes me more attractive. My freaking uniform alone makes me super attractive, and I'm married.
Like pussy in his
Okay, okay.
PTR.
All I'm saying is
Ah!
You better you better brag on yourself,
all I'm
baby.
saying is that for me to get my wife, I didn't have to have a legal degree.
You're the exception to the rule, Mike. I'm
Wait,
not
No,
saying
I'm
wait,
it's
hold
not
on,
the
hold on, hold on,
exception.
impossible.
Mike. How
Lion,
much,
And that's
Mike? How
Lion
because
is
much?
white
also the
people marry
exception to the
people
rule.
at their
Mike,
level. Like,
Is Lion a lawyer? Is
hey,
Lion a
Mike,
pilot?
Mike. How much do you?
Lion makes a really good living though.
Hey, wait,
He
stop for a minute.
didn't.
Stop,
I
stop,
He
was
stop.
thinking the
didn't
Mike,
when
same
he didn't
thing,
have
Mike,
Lion.
enough
Go
money.
ahead.
Mike.
He
I
How
was
didn't
much
thinking
did
the
have
you
enough
make
same
when you
thing.
meet when you
when he
met her?
didn't
How
have
much
enough
did
money to take a
Mike?
bus home from Ohio.
Oh my God,
He
Mike.
was not making a
How
lot of
much?
money.
Mike, how much money did you make when you met your wife? When you met her?
I was doing fine.
What's fine?
I was literally probably making like 65, 70,000.
Do you
Oh yeah.
understand? That's middle class in the Midwest and also in the South.
Right,
All
but my
all of the
point
southern
is,
states.
He was probably
although
at the
I was
beginning of
only
his
making
career,
that much
Lion.
then, I had a lot of potential.
All
So
right. So
that's why,
what's that? What what
people
level?
latch
What
onto
what?
potential.
So what level was your wife on? I'm going to show you
She
that you weren't listening to the
she
conversation
was making more than me.
about how much more.
Bomba clot.
She
How
was
much more?
making probably $40,000 more than me.
All right. So you said you were at 60, so she's making a 100,000. What state was this in?
New York City.
No, so you were
Oh my
birth. You were
gosh.
so you were birth. You were both poor.
No, no. What do you
By New
mean?
York
She's
standards.
not
By
poor.
New
By
York
New York
No,
standards.
no, that's
standards.
not by New York standards. That's not
Yeah,
poor.
that is.
No,
That
not
really
then.
is.
Did you
Not
live
then.
in Manhattan? Did you
Here,
This was 10
live
here's
years
in?
ago in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
no. Here's a
Okay.
better
Again,
question.
Did
you were
you?
Here's
both
a better
She
poor.
question.
she lives in Westchester, or she lived in Westchester,
Here's a
which is
better
less than
question. Were
Manhattan.
you in your career field at that time, Michael?
You're in low
Yes.
class
Of
middle,
course.
and
So
she.
so so she met you in your career field that you were starting off, and you said she saw the potential. That's like saying you're a first year freaking legal associate, and she married me,
Exactly.
but saying she saw potential. You were already on the track, fam.
In
It's only a matter
NFL
of
rookie.
time.
He was an NFL
Finley,
Right?
rookie.
Finley,
Exactly.
He
Finley.
doesn't
She
see
No,
met
that.
you
no,
at the
no,
she met you
Yeah,
at the combine, fam.
yeah. She
no,
was already
no.
meeting
That's
you at the
crazy.
finish line.
So Finley, if you had met your wife as a cop, would she have not married you?
That
So I'm the
a
exception.
cop also
I'm the
has more. A
I'm
Oh,
the
cop
you're
has
the exception
status.
now too.
It has
So we're
well,
authority.
both
no, no, no.
exceptions to the rule.
No, Mike. Because I married a woman that has a totally different value system than most people. So she is the exception to the rule,
Oh, but
right?
I'm also the exception.
But Mike, I'm dating wise. Most women like when they found out what I did, like I'm telling you, I attracted a lot more women in the pilot's uniform than I did in that cop uniform. I attracted a lot of more women in my freaking suit and tie when I was freaking lobbying than when I was freaking on the beat.
Absolutely,
It wasn't even
absolutely.
close. It wasn't even close. A friend of mine, he's happily married. He's a orthodontist, right? He has two profiles on social media. One that for his orthodontist, he has this alter ego called Andre the Farmer. He says, and I quote, I get a lot more inboxes on my orthodontist page than I do as Andre the freaking Farmer, right? Because that's how the
Yes.
freaking
No.
that's how the freaking world works, Mike.
No,
Like,
no,
and,
no.
and, and in your exact, wait, wait,
But also Finley, if you can remember back in the day that there were certain friends of yours or certain guys of yours that didn't really have that much going on, but yet they were able to pull these
Look
ridiculous
at the.
chicks.
No, they
That's a
were able to
phenomenon
that,
pull
that,
also.
the.
that, listen,
They were able to
pull and
pull the.
marry are two different conversations.
Right. We're
Well,
You
not
you're
attract
talking.
just
with
talking about
money.
dating. You're talking about farmer profiles and you're talking about orthodontist profiles. So are
Right.
we
My
talking
my
about dating or
my
relationships?
point, my
We're
Because
talking
point,
what
about
my
I'm saying
point,
is
attraction.
with
because
relationships, women are, uh, you know, they will attach to potential.
There are. Listen to me.
yeah,
there are within
Just like
every,
Lion or
every
Lady did
hey
for
Mike,
Lion.
Mike, there are within every mathematical um, thing here. There is an anomaly, anomaly, and what I mean by that is you may have the down and out, broken looking nigga, but he looks like Brad Pitt. Or he looks like that. Y'all remember that one little mixed dude who he just committed a crime or something like that, and
Yeah,
he was a
yeah, the
black dude with
mugshot
blue
guy.
eyes and some shit like that, and all of the women all online were trying to tell me I'm trying to bail him out, blah blah. He fine, he fine. That's the anomaly. So
They
we're
do that
talking.
with that one girl. They always have
No,
prison
wait, hold on,
babes.
hold on. But what I'm trying to say to you is when it comes to as far as men, that's a rare event that happens because within this society, a man's beauty, a man's attractability is what he can provide.
Yes,
That's how you
I
look good. You look
I
good.
That's a fact.
It's what
I
you.
agree with
All
that,
right. So with that
but
being
Lion, you're
and
saying
hold
the
on,
converse
hold on.
is true though.
But
You're
hold
saying
on,
if women
but look,
are
the man's
established,
attractive, the
they
man's
become less
ability to
attractive to men.
the man's ability to
They're
provide
less loyal.
is the. I wish you shut up. A man's ability to provide is the equivalent of a beautiful, sexy model chick.
Yes, that's why
Do
goofy
you
dudes
understand?
with
So
money
that's
get
why.
fake chicks.
So that's why but a man's ability to provide comes with time. A woman's ability to be beautiful, she just has to have good genetics. She's born with it.
But
It
again, are we
naturally
talking about
is
dating or
it. So
relationships?
we're talking about dating is the first step to the relationship. So the woman is going to get more inboxes because she's already has something natural that all of her male counterparts want. The man ain't shit until he builds something for himself. And once he does it, because he had to put in so much sweat equity over the years, he had to perfect his craft over the years. He's not going to be in such a hurry to be
I don't agree. I
he's
don't
not.
agree that
Hey Mike,
you
hold on,
weren't
Mike.
shit.
Let me
You
finish the
weren't
sentence.
shit
What?
when Lady met
Mike,
you. I don't
Mike,
agree
let
with
me
that.
finish the sentence. He's not going to be in such a hurry to be tied down to the first female that thinks that he's attractive. The same exact reason why the woman who knows that she's beautiful and everybody wants her, it's very difficult for her to tie herself down in her early days when she is at her peak, at her most value, to the first guy that finds her attractive and wants to take care of her and wants to marry her and all of that stuff. It's a rare thing to happen. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Right, and my premise is that women are more, uh, you know, fearful of getting passed over.
You're not making a point. You realize that.
You didn't you you
You
didn't make a
haven't.
point,
You,
Lion. You are the exception to
you
the
said
rule.
you said
Finley's the
women are
exception to the
fearful.
rule.
You said
I'm the
women are
exception to the
fearful of
rule
being passed over. What point are you trying to make? What is that? How does that align or conflict against anything I've stated thus far?
because with more options, you end up, with a FOMO mindset. And I'm
Hey,
saying
ladies and gentlemen.
this
Hey,
happens
ladies.
on
Hold on.
both
Now,
sides.
Mike. Watch
This
this.
happens
Ladies and
on both
gentlemen.
Y'all should
Have I
sides,
just
not?
do
and the
polyamory and
consequences of
polygamy.
Hey,
All
that,
hey.
this
Wait a minute.
the
monogamy
Wait.
bullshit
consequences
Wait.
of
Wait.
that
doesn't.
Exactly.
Wait.
Right,
Wait.
right.
Wait. Stop.
Team
Hey,
getting
ladies
passed
and
poly.
gentlemen.
over.
Ladies
Team
and gentlemen
Poly.
of the room. Did he say anything that countered what I've already stated thus
No,
far?
he did not. But now we
So,
want to move
what was
on
the
to
fucking point of this
polyamory.
guy coming off the mic? Can anyone please explain? Are you going to refute my position by having your own counterclaims, counter evidence? Or are you just going to say, well, I'm just going to say the exact same thing, but I'm just going to put my little white twang on it?
Yeah, I just wants
I
to
Yeah,
got a
talk.
question. I got a question for you, Mike.
I hate
go
you
ahead.
people, man.
If
Go ahead.
women
Man.
were dating and mating and marrying based on potential, why is the average age of marriage rising in this country? Go ahead.
Because there's more options. This is Lion's whole point.
But you're
Be-
countering his point by saying women date on potential.
no,
If they were dating on potential,
I'm saying
the average age of
relationships.
marriage would not
I'm
be
saying
rising.
no. I'm saying relationships are based on potential. Like you'll stay with someone based on potential, or a woman would, versus dating is very sort of superficial. Farmer profile versus orthodontist profile. No, I agree with
I,
that. But what I'm asking you, Finley, though, so you're essentially saying your wife wouldn't have married you as a police officer versus as a pilot
no, I'm
if
saying
you had met
again,
her in
my wife
both
has
cases.
my wife has entirely her morals are entirely different. She's definitely the exception to the rule. My wife makes a decent
But
six
you
figure
said my
income.
wife was the exception to the rule.
My wife makes a decent six figure income, and she still had her very first car she ever bought, and she had her second car. They're not foreign vehicles. She doesn't drive a fancy foreign. She doesn't have any. She doesn't wear designer nothing. That is not normal for American women that make good livings, fam. Like
The fodder. She had
Well,
a
yeah,
fodder.
right,
I'm not
right.
sure that
My wife is not.
I'm not sure you
My
have any
wife is
data for
not.
that, but
My wife does not. She does not spend frivolously. She does not go out on these shopping sprees spending a bunch of money. Like that's she's not materialistic in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? So she's definitely the exception to the rule. And so I believe that she would have married me as a police officer so long as I was able to keep a good decent job. However,
right.
the other 99.999% of women that I have come in contact with, that is not the case. And I'm going to say this again, and it's anecdotal, right? I get a lot more attention as a married man with a ring on my finger with my pilot's uniform on than I did as a single man in a police uniform.
Well, I never,
I got way more attention.
Yeah, but
I've never
uh,
seen that. The ring thing doesn't necessarily.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
here's the
oh
problem.
yes,
Here's the
That's
problem,
Michael.
always what you
Michael, you are
hear.
so
But
wrong, Michael. Do you
Michael.
know how many women I know who
Fucking
hit
A,
on
bro.
married men, Michael? There's so
but
many women are
I don't know.
attracted to this
I
idea that
guess
they see someone committed. There's a lot of shisty ass bitches out here who go after married men.
no.
Mr.
I
Finley is not
definitely agree
incorrect.
with that. With
That's
that
Michael.
rumor
true.
or whatever. It
Here,
just hasn't worked out for me,
well, here's the
unfortunately.
thing.
That
Oh,
might
it
be why.
hasn't worked out for you.
Well, I'm
What does
happy
that
for
mean?
you, Michael, that you end up in a good relationship.
I'm saying
He says the hoes
the
aren't
ring hasn't
popping
gotten me
like
hit
I
on all
thought
that.
they would when I got the ring
Yeah, that was
on.
part of
Oh
the
my
Whoa.
deal. I thought I
God.
was going to get a lot of.
Michael, don't let an unmarried
Michael, don't let
man
nobody else
like
hear you say that, bro.
don't let an unmarried
All
man
right,
like concrete make
Nolly,
you
Nani.
feel bad, you
I don't want
know?
to fight you
Like
no
just
more. I don't
don't
want to
make
fight you no more.
I'm
I'm
not
over
fighting
it.
you.
I'm
I'm just
over it.
telling him that like
It's
he's
over. It's
a
boring. Can I just
married
talk to Michael real
man.
quick? So,
Yes, can I talk
Michael,
to Michael too?
you've interrupted
You
me
want to talk
several
to him?
times, bro. You
You want
gotta
to talk to
stop,
him?
bro.
Go
You
ahead,
gotta
talk to
stop.
your man. Okay, I'm gonna
Thank
let
you,
you talk
thank
to
you,
your
thank you.
man.
So, Michael, the issue is we all look at life through our anecdotes, right? Obviously, that's like a necessity. We have experiences, we look at life, we make assessments based on those experiences. But unfortunately, that doesn't scale to like discuss group problems, right? When we talking about personal issues, personal understandings, it works. But when we talk about group dynamics and group qualities, we got to move past our anecdotes, bro. We got to get into like a broader spectrum of input such that we can work with statistics and really understand the world in a holistic manner, right? And I think that's what you're fighting by continuously resorting to your anecdotes and your personal experiences. When we're talking about
Finley is
group,
the one that gave antidotes.
You
huh?
haven't said this.
Sorry,
You haven't said this
sorry. What'd
either.
you say?
Finley was just talking about how him having a ring and a uniform made him more attractive than having a
No.
than
I'm
being
not.
a police
Again, so I
officer.
didn't say anecdotes weren't important. I said we're talking about group dynamics.
Yes.
So we
So
have
so
to
you're
move past anecdotes for group discussions. Now, sometimes anecdotes are coupled with other anecdotes, which are coupled with other anecdotes, which are coupled with other anecdotes, where we are able to get a broader picture. Now, what you're doing is you're taking Finley's anecdotes, which is amended by a multitude of people, and you're saying, well, I have a contradictory anecdote.
yeah, but what I'm saying is it
That's
didn't
not
even
effective.
but his antidote didn't work out for him.
Also,
Not
you've only
So
said
my
anecdote.
question
anecdotes.
to
You
It
haven't said
wasn't
any
him
a.
stats.
was
It wasn't
would
an
his wife have
anecdote.
married him as a police officer
But that went.
versus an attorney?
But look, his anecdotes are in alignment with our understandings of the world, such that we've come together in a consensus on this topic,
but there
right?
wasn't
No,
like
it's
even
bias
And
all right.
your
I'm
confirmation.
sorry.
reputation.
Bias
Concrete,
confirmation.
concrete.
One second. One second.
Your question
Wait. One
was
second. One second.
are poor
Your
women
rebuttal
more
to our
likely to cheat
consensus.
than wealthy women?
Your
And we
rebuttal to
couldn't
our
come with consensus on that.
Michael.
You
Your
can't have a
rebuttal.
consensus with like two
Alaska,
people.
come on, bro. You just keep chirping in, bro. Just chill. Your rebuttal to our consensus position is my personal anecdote. And I don't think that's enough to refute our shared experiences,
Okay,
right?
could you just state the consensus position?
All right, so
Because yours and Matt's was
the
different,
consensus
or Ryan's and Matt's was
opinion,
different.
which has been reiterated by you, which is women have a broader range of options now with the advent of the internet and social media, right?
And so do
Women
men.
have a broader. Oh, agreed. Um, but I don't think so because men's selective or select the selection for men isn't as wide as women, right? I think women are way more attractive in the broader spectrum of women than men attractive in the broader spectrum of men. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't know
Okay, all
how
right.
women
So I take it that they
judge
have
men's
more
attractiveness.
options because there are men who, irrespective of the internet, are not an option because of whatever qualities they might have. And that's not true for most women. Irrespective of the qualities, her being overweight, her being subpar attractive, on and on and on and on. Her having multiple children, her not having no income or even a negative income, they're still attractive than a man with similar qualities. So I take it that women are more attractive than men just by the way the nature is, right?
Yeah, I mean, but
Okay. All
you
right.
know, money is the great equalizer, maybe for men.
Again, the percentage of men that need money to be attractive are still going to be a minuscule number compared to women who don't need money to be attractive. There is never ever a woman that, even if she's old, I found that there's a young nigga that'll hit that old thing and doesn't need any money attached to it.
Right, right.
It's
No, I
weird.
agree.
Watch your mouth, concrete. Thank
So,
you.
no, I'm not talking about you, Miss Fifi. I'm
I'm
talking
teasing.
about Madonna. I'm
I'm
talking about.
teasing
Have you seen
y'all.
Madonna? Have you seen
Oh
Yeah,
Madonna,
man,
Miss Fifi?
yeah,
there's
I've
got to
seen
be
it.
It's
I've seen it.
sad. It's very
there's got to
sad.
be
It's
money in
crazy.
that
And
fat man
Cher.
to
Have you
accept
seen
a lot.
Cher?
I was
Very
just gonna say
sad.
share
That's
concrete. You beat me to
status,
it.
though.
Share is
That's
up. I'm like,
status,
what?
bro. That's status. Share as an Armenian woman, right? I'd hit
She's in
that.
your crew.
I
Oh,
thought
she's
she
in
was
your
That's
crew.
Italian.
status, bro. Like, imagine she is like the queen of the gays. She's the queen of pop at a certain point and disco. That's status.
Yeah.
She's iconic. That's
You
the word.
seen Kardashian?
Yeah,
Isn't she in
but
your
it's
crew too?
literally skin deep.
That's half.
She's in that crew too.
No,
That's half.
What's her
not.
That's
I'm
half.
talking
name?
about the mom.
Yeah, her mom.
No,
Her name is
no. The
Yeah, she
mom
is.
is
Yeah, she is.
Chris Jenner.
Chris.
Chris,
That's her name. Sorry.
Chris Jenner is white, so the dad was
Oh,
Armenian. It was Robert Kardashian
Oh,
that was
that's
I
right.
Armenian.
thought she was.
But
She.
hold up, well, we're gonna go back to this conversation. You know what I find funny though is that every time we talk about these things, it's always ironic how there's like 6, 7 men in the room, right, on average, who are married or in long-term relationships, but they're always with the exception to the rule. And I find that very curious, like very, very weird.
No,
Yeah, and I
that's
don't think
not.
that I am.
I
Wait, can
think.
you repeat that? What's the exception to the rule?
Right? Like, I'm in a relationship with a woman who is not into hypergamy, who started dating me when I was only making $28,000 a year, working for the government.
Like that will
And
be exception, is what he's saying. Sorry.
that's the exception, right? Like, she didn't marry me because I'm beautiful, because I'm obviously not the best looking guy in the world. I'm not bad looking, but she's with me because she saw what? My potential. Michael was making the same argument. Finley was making his story the exception to his argument. Lion is the exception
But
to his
still, guard.
argument.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
there
I'm
but
any
sorry, Haga.
cultural lens? Is
My
there any cultural lens applied
Come
to this?
on.
Like,
My
no,
Go,
it's
go ahead,
exception
Philly.
absolutely
Go ahead,
is
Philly.
because
No, not
my
so
you,
I got.
Philly. That was for
exception is
lady
why
or
No,
are
you're
you
my
good.
non-E.
You're
cutting me
good.
exception
off?
my
So
exception
so
is the way the woman is raised.
Come
It's
Bro, you
on,
my
guys are like
man.
the
exception.
most
Let Philly
annoying
go,
That's the
people.
point
man.
I want to make
Yeah,
too,
dude,
by
why
the
are you
way.
guys interrupting
so
fucking Finley? It's actually insane.
Haga. My. Well, first of all, it's my hypothesis, right? Because I don't know. Because when I met my wife, I had a freaking portfolio and I made a freaking good living. So it's a hypothesis based on how she was raised and how she operates in her own life. So she didn't marry me on potential. I was in freaking flight school. I had that I paid cash for. I owned my own home and I had a ton of freaking savings. So
And,
I had already met the qualifications that most women look for.
and heck up, respectfully, the scenario that Michael described was not him like having potential. He was past the point of potential. He was in self actualization mode. Actually, at that point, when you're talking about being at 70,000, 10 years ago, right? So it's not. Look, and even you're at 28 and working for the government. Government is a solid position, and that has its virtues. I think potential is
Wait, I
in.
meant to say 38, not 28. I might have misspoke.
Okay, 38 is definitely government. 38, we can see where you're going. You're in self actualization mode. The only thing you can do at that point is fuck it up, right? Become a drug addict, alcoholic, and you don't get promoted and you don't get to the next level within the next 5 years, which I'm sure you did, or you lateraled into a better position at another company or something like that, right? You did what we projected that you were gonna do. Potential is, I think, high school graduate, college freshman, even, yeah, college freshman up until college junior, maybe even college senior, because you didn't get a job yet. You're still a student. That's when you're at your potential phase. And if she made an assessment then and she stuck with you then you could make this potential argument. But once you got a degree and you got a job, potential's been realized. You're gonna do something, because remember, some of us take it for granted, but college education is like a 25% of the population type shit. That's significant in terms of actualization.
Yeah,
So
I definitely agree with that reframing by Concrete. I would just add that I guess maybe not potential so much, but forward momentum. Like if someone's trying to do something, like Finley was trying to get his pilot's license,
Right, right.
all that kind of stuff. I think that's valued is
here's the question, right? For
by
all the
women.
gentlemen, you included, Michael, what was it like in college in terms of the reception that you got, in terms of not just, coitus, but actual potential for a relationship? What was it like in college? Because that is the true litmus of whether or not women are seeking potential or sure bets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was all game because I had a dorky major. It wasn't like I'm pre-med and she's lining up with something. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
all dating.
I agree with that. It was all game for me too. I was a fucking starving writer. Where we were trying to, I wasn't trying to get into a relationship in college. That's also an important thing, right? Is men are choosing to get into relationships later in life. In college, I had no money to my name. I didn't have $10 in my pocket. I had nothing.
That's where she was supposed to appear. Well, I'm not saying nothing about your wife now. I'm not.
No,
Don't make.
no, no.
I'm saying that's because look, there's more women on campus than men. I don't know if it was true when y'all went to school, but a lot of schools that's the case, right? And so when I'm sharing notes with my homies when we were in college, because I thought I was going to meet my wife in college, and I could have, sure, right? But what I found out, or what I thought, like internally, even though it was never spoken, was they wanted better. That's what I thought. Then I heard my homeboy say the same thing. They wanted better. All the women within our classes wanted better. I was like, wow. So this is not just a personal thing. This
Better
is a
than
shared.
who they went to school with.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, that's
yeah.
Yo.
yeah.
I
Now
was in
that's
law
I didn't go
school.
shocking.
in. I
How
didn't.
is
I
that?
Yo,
didn't go into
How is that
yo,
college finding
shocking?
a
How
wife.
is
yo,
that
Mike,
shocking?
So.
Yo, Mike. Undergrad was just a cluster bomb, right? I figured out the code. I figured out game and managed to move socially, to have sex and whatnot. But when it came to like something serious, Concrete's right. They wanted. I wasn't on their level. In law school, I got that. I got that in law school. I got that in law
No.
school.
Yeah,
You're
you could, you
because
could,
everybody's
that
making
happens
money.
women
a
would tell
lot
me in
more in
law
law
school, you're not on
school.
my level. I'm like, what the
They
blank?
they
Yeah,
verbalized
even
it. They
though it
said
was the
it.
same
Yes,
school,
yes,
because
concrete, yes, concrete.
because she knew that she wasn't going to this white shoe law firm, so she still wanted to get better that was out there.
Hey, so Michael, that's what I'm saying. So that's why the argument is they aren't seeking potential because when they had an opportunity to select potential at an early age. Because I imagine we were in the better shape,
Well, this is
more
like the worst
more
argument I've heard in a
handsome.
minute.
Wait, hold on. We were in better shape in college, more handsome in
Yeah,
college
like,
because we were younger,
yeah.
and so you were at your peak of physical attractiveness, and they still were like, nah, nigga, we need other.
What does that have to do with potential?
No,
Like, look, like,
I
wait,
don't
hold
know
on,
with
like,
that. I
Michael, shut
just didn't
up,
answer it
bro.
like that because I
Fuck, let
didn't
me
I
want to.
talk.
thought they both said they were ugly though. I'm
Oh
confused.
my fucking god.
I wasn't going what you were going after in
I think you
college,
guys should
concrete.
PTR your college pictures. Let's
What do
judge
you
for
What do you mean?
ourselves.
Like even if you weren't going
I
for
didn't
it,
go in and say
we
I'm
all
like
know
Michael
about that
Jordan.
girl in that
Right.
class that latches onto us, and then she wants to
Yo,
go from
concrete, you've
this
heard you
class to
say
the
this
next
five
class.
times.
No, I didn't say this 5 times. We all
No,
know
like,
the
I'm trying,
girl.
like, can I actually
No, I'm
respond to what
addressing.
you said instead of you just, like, fucking
Well,
repeating
well,
yourself?
well. Here, I'll explain it to you. So people keep
No, yeah,
throwing
that's what we
out
need.
different. I'll just explain it, bro. Just chill, and you can go. People keep throwing out like defeaters or potential defeaters, and then I have to like rebut those. But go ahead, bro. You got it.
Yeah, but, like, the idea that, like, potential maxes out in your
Fuck it,
20s
you
is
ain't
just,
got no more faggot ass nigga. Don't you fucking interrupt me ever again when you hear me grand eloquation when I'm on this fucking mic. You bitch ass nigga, you ask permission. Concrete, may I speak? And then I'll may grant you permission. You faggot ass nigga, don't ever do that shit again. A-walk.
are you done, buddy?
What
Yeah,
is
I'm good,
happening?
thank you.
Not him
Oh, I
calling you
appreciate it.
buddy. That's so.
Yo, Nani, shut up, dude. You're like the
You
worst
only
contributor on
like
the
to yell at
stage.
me because I'm a woman.
No, that's not
Don't yell
You
true.
at
That's
wouldn't
not
the
true
dare
at
yell at
all.
A-Walk.
other
No,
men.
that's not
Concrete
true at
Don't
just
yell
all.
at
just a simp
A-Walk.
ass nigga. Go
Yo,
ahead, A.
Nani, shut the
Go
fuck
ahead,
up.
A-Walk talking. Go
No one
ahead.
wants to hear you
Go
gibberate.
ahead,
Look, you
simp.
fucking
Go ahead,
retard.
incel.
Wait, how am I incel and a simp? Like, do you even know my sex life at all?
I don't think you have one.
Yeah,
That's why
Just
you
go,
are
fucking yeah,
so
just go,
yeah.
just
angry.
You
go,
don't you
just
don't think
go.
you don't think.
Just
Period.
go.
You demonstrated that
Oh,
already.
yes.
You're like
Okay,
the
go
worst
ahead.
reasoner on stage. Look,
You
so I mean, like that
stuttered.
kind of a
Work on your speech
okay,
impediment. Work on your speech
okay. What's that to do with
impediment,
like my
sir.
reasoning abilities? I don't
Just
understand.
go back to the conversation that you wanted to
Nani,
get
just
into.
de-escalate. Let him go, please. Thank you.
I'm going to let him. Go ahead, young man.
Oh yeah, look at her de-escalating very well. I mean, like the kind of idea that like your potential peaks at 20s is just like false. Like like men tend to live to like the 70s, and they tend to make the most amount of money as they get older. So the potential tends to go upward given their age. Like I think it decreases after like 55 or something, but like I think the potential maxes out in regards to like your 30s and 40s. That's when you tend to have like the most accessibility to income. You have the most ability to like you have a house. You tend to have like a bunch of assets, right? So I don't think like you kind of index potential just to your 20s. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I
like
think
where
that was
you and
Concrete's point.
yeah, and I think like no, I thought Concrete was talking about like they don't really look at potential at all or something.
No, no, no. So I said that if they were accounting for potential, it would be at the point where you haven't realized, right, your educational, economic baseline, right? So we know that college is used to establish the baseline that you would have gotten had you only had a high school education, right? Because so we know when you graduate from high school, that establishes an economic baseline. When you go to college, that would hopefully establish a higher economic baseline. So if they are selecting for potential, they would do so before you establish that baseline. But in fact, what we see is that these guys are ascribing these potential seeking to these women when they've established the upper, I'm sorry, a higher level of economic income, which is through college education, right, and job attainment. Michael says he was at 70,000 when he got his lady, and I take that to be an established baseline, which can only go up if he maintains himself as a responsible adult,
No, yeah,
right?
that seems right, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
like yeah, but I think the kind of focus like You know, like I think Mr. Finley's point is kind of like the guiltiest of it. It's like the idea that, um, you know, like him being married at a young age is indication of that or something, or her being married later. It's like I think it's like a lot more nuanced than what you guys are talking about or whatever. You know, like it seems like someone just being in college doesn't really show their potential, right? But like, you know, maybe someone having a better job in their 30s definitely shows potential. I think in a different way or whatever.
I think you're interpreting potential wrong, not in the same way. So when we say showing potential, we mean that they haven't done anything yet. And so having a job is
No, I
doing
don't think
something.
that follows. That seems like a weird definition to me, right? Like you
Okay,
could see
so
someone like let's take an example of a basketball game, right? Like a
Well,
basketball player, like
I'm
potential
telling you to
energy
look, look,
is
look.
zero
I'm not
energy.
telling you that it can't be interpreted alternately. I'm saying this is the interpretation that we're
yeah,
working
and
with.
I'm saying like that seems hyper proprietary given like the kind
Why
of
does it
examples we have in
matter?
like
That's the
sports.
one we're working with for the last fucking hour, bro.
That's why people are
Do you
pushing
want to
back into
change
youth.
our definition? You
Yeah,
want to
that's why
change our
people are arguing with
definition?
you, retard. That's a different concept.
Oh, is that why you're arguing with me, Michael? Because you have a different definition of potential?
No, no.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Wait, why'd you pick out like
I
one
agree with
person?
Concrete's definition of
He's
Wait,
the
why
potential.
did you?
fucking main.
Why?
It
He's the
starts from
main
zero.
character in the
Wait, shoot.
debate.
What
He's the
about
main
like?
character in the debate.
He
What
always
Sorry,
about
likes
Potential
to
like?
is
double dutch
assuming
into a
close to
Yo,
conversation
zero.
that he knows
yo,
nothing
like
about.
why wouldn't you pick out like
because he's the
Agop's
main character
views
in the debate.
or like
Because he's
Chaos's
been the
views or
focal
Mr.
point
Finley's
of the
views,
debate. Because he's been
right?
the
Which
focal point of the debate.
clearly don't
We've been
agree like with your
debating
Because
views.
he's
Michael.
in the
Like,
focal point of the debate.
Yo, Nani, no
Because
one
I
cares what you
introduced the
think. You're
word
like
potential.
horrible.
no, actually they do, because you're thinking and responding.
Wait, that doesn't follow.
That doesn't follow. Does anyone ever tell you sound like a Muppet baby?
I'm sure you've said that
That's
before.
very
You know, because you really kind
endearing.
of
You sound
repeating
like a
yourself.
Muppet baby. No, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
You
very
sound like an
funny.
adorable little Muppet baby.
Yo, Nani, like, why don't you like illuminate us
Michael,
with an actual
what I
argument?
wanted to say, Michael, to what you said is that I think that in some instances you need to apply like a cultural lens. Like, I don't necessarily think that, at least in my community, Matt's community, that like potential is worth anything, other than maybe like a small relationship, but you're still kind of you're looking at multiple potentials and seeing which one ends up being the one that matches, like the lifestyle that you want. I think this whole potential notion is much more acceptable in non-Black communities.
Yeah, it's
What
fucking
about if I
crazy.
was what about if I was to tell you that the
Wait, you agreed with
person
that
that
concrete?
accepted the potential was non-black or non-white?
I
Yeah,
agree
like,
with the assessment. I
So I don't
disagree
think
with
you
the
should
attitude.
generalize communities.
No, I can definitely generalize for Ethiopian and Somali communities. We
Matt,
don't
are you
Okay, that's
we
there?
very
don't
specific.
believe
Yeah,
in
So is that the
yeah. No,
same?
no,
That's like an
I
immigrant
agree with
community,
what
I
she
guess.
says, though. I
it's not an
mean,
immigrant
what
community
Nani
in
said
Ethiopia.
is she's
We
not
exist in
wrong.
other
No, I
places.
don't. I don't. I don't disagree with her, but it's actually the unfortunate part of our
Wait, can I
society
hear Matt's
that
opinion
we're
on
dealing
that?
with. Wait one
Matt,
second.
can you expand
Hold
on your
on. Hold
opinion?
on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. So Matt, real quick, in Haiti, is it the same thing where they don't look at your potential? They look at what you can do in the moment that they meet you, or
Oh,
over there?
of course, like the idea of like potential of what you might become, it's not a thing because there's no guarantee for that. So the person will always choose based on what is there for them, right? And anecdotally, right? I remember when I was dating my wife, she said, I knew you had money because you were studying history. Because broke people don't study history.
Oh my gosh.
No,
It's
true
true.
story. True story. That's what
Ain't
she
no
said. And that's
Haitians
why it's
studying
like
history. Your
when
parents didn't
when
slap you
Nani,
upside your
Hagab
head.
said
please be
he was
quiet.
that's like when Hagab said, oh yeah, he was a broke guy, a broke rider. Yeah, poor people don't become broke riders. It's because their family already had money and they're trying to do something they love. And women knows that. There's a difference between the kid who's in med school because their father was a doctor and the kid who's in med school because he got in and he's came from a poor family. It's two different things right there.
Yeah, I'm not
One has
arguing that.
potential, right? And I think that's what Nani's saying.
No,
What
I'm
you
not
have
arguing.
right
Look, look.
now, what you have right now is more important than what you can be tomorrow.
No, I'm not arguing anything. I'm not even arguing what Nani's saying. I agree. I just think that is a poor, degenerate sentiment. Right? It's a
I don't
sad
think
part
it's
about our community. But here's the thing.
no,
Reason.
no,
Here,
it's
no, 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 no,
not.
look, look, look. You can disagree. That's fine. But here's the thing. Right? When I'm asking you about the dynamics on the island, and it might be hard for you to like give an assessment. I don't think that it should, but maybe you're so removed from it with your cosmopolitan American lifestyle that you. But I imagine on the island that there is more marriages at an early age, which would be definitely, and of people who aren't educated or upwardly mobile
No,
in the same
they
ways.
are, but remember,
Okay.
it's cultural. So the thing is,
No.
it's we
Okay.
remember, like on the island, you are marrying the family name. So the family is already
Hmm.
you're already established
No,
as a
I'm talking
family.
outside of
So no,
that.
no, there's no outside of that. Poor people don't marry rich people in Haiti. The rich stays by themselves,
That's
the
what I'm
poor stays
saying.
by
I'm saying
themselves.
outside of
Right. Which
we're
means
talking amongst
it's
regular
very
people.
rare. Yeah, correct. It's very rare, for instance, you see people jump social class and pick somebody lesser than them. It's very, very, very rare.
I
Because at the end of the
understand
day,
that.
it's what you can do right now.
Yeah, I look. You're doing an assessment, a top-down assessment from hierarchy or higher social class to lower social class. So guess what? In America, we are the lower social class. The most Americans are the lower social class. So that's why I'm using that example as what should be happening in America. So what I'm saying is when you look at the lower social class, are they marrying earlier, which would be an assessment of potential? Are they marrying people who aren't upwardly mobile in the economic, stratus or whatever? And I would say, and I think you already agreed that yes, that group is marrying earlier and more. Now, what I think that means is those people are marrying for potential because I would imagine even if you're in a lower economic status, you're still hoping that your man, could elevate. You want him to elevate. You're willing to help him elevate, right? And so, when we hear Americans talking like they're in a higher economic status and they're making decisions based on higher economic, I think that's the problem. That's why I say it's problematic because we're all on the lower economic status. They just don't realize it.
I think
And
concrete actually
I
is
agree
correct
with
here.
you.
That's correct, 100%.
No,
Nani.
concrete actually cooked that one. To be honest,
Thank you, thank you.
yo, yeah, of course, bro. I always appreciate your reasoning. So, like, it's a lot better than most people's. Yo, is Io around or? No.
What does that have to do with the topic?
I
Anyways,
forgot. There was
Culture is
another
concrete, I
point.
extremely
actually agree with
important.
you that I think it's a messed up
Yeah, do we need more Nani? Really?
idea. No,
No,
I do agree
we're gonna
with
get
you,
it though.
concrete. No, I do agree with you, concrete, that I do think it's kind of messed up that if you think about it, when you are in college or when you are young, you should be dealing with potential and like seeing and envisioning that you guys are working together, right, to support both of you and being successful, right? But that's just not how our communities are structured. And like the way that Matt
It's just
says,
like a
like in my
mood.
family, oh my God, what are you okay?
Let her
Calm the
get a
fuck
point out.
down.
She ain't saying nothing
Yeah, like
crazy.
I
Let her
know
get a
you
point
don't
out.
like women, but just shut the fuck up, you
What do
dumbass
you
bitch.
mean? Why do you always like go straight to sexism when your people call
And
you
don't, why
retarded?
do you always have to call me a retard just by disagreeing with me? Mm,
Because you're a bad reasoner. We can demonstrate that if you want.
okay, well, I'm not
And
trying to reason
we're
anything.
gonna
We're all
lose the
just
point.
giving our opinion and perspective.
Yeah, that's the point.
So,
You come on here and you emote instead of
oh my
reason.
God. So everybody else is allowed to talk about their experiences and I'm not.
Just
What is your
Nani,
issue with
continue,
me?
continue,
Yeah, I
continue,
think
Nani.
no, Lion and Kendo and Concrete, I think, and Matt too, that it is disappointing that our community is so fixated on potential and options that I think that we are marrying less than other communities because we're not willing to grow and build with people.
Now
We have a
remember
sub.
there. Now
Go
remember
ahead.
there is a double. There's a double. Like for every negative, there's a positive side to it. So we've been speaking about the negative sides. What can you think of any potential positive sides to the fact that you have more options? You have more selectability is high. What could it be, Nani?
The positives of having multiple options.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody who doesn't really subscribe to monogamy, I enjoy having possible options because that means that I don't have to like settle for one person. And so for me, I think that I'm an outlier in this scenario. But I would imagine that if a woman is seeking monogamy, then it feels more like eugenics, right? Like you're trying to pick this perfect person,
What's it's
and it's
retarded.
really messed up, you know? Are
Nani,
you
You're
fucking okay? Like
you're
you need to
lying,
Nani,
just like
lying.
Hold on,
you
hold
You're
on,
interrupt to
hold on,
call
lying.
me a
hold on,
retard, then you act
You're
like
lying.
talk about wait,
Nani,
Lion,
hold
let
on a
him talk
second.
about
You're
his
lying.
relationships. No, Matt.
You're
Matt,
lying.
no,
Hold on.
Matt.
No, no, no.
Let
Let me
AWOC
correct
tell us
this.
about his dating
Let
experience.
me correct this. Yo,
Matt,
Ewok.
let
Yo,
him talk about
hold
his dating
on,
No,
experience. Because I
Matt,
hold
don't
bet
on.
you
speak
he
to me,
Let
got
let me
faggot.
none. You
Yo,
let
got
me
Matt, don't
correct
none.
don't
it.
don't
You
speak
have
to me.
none. AWOC,
No,
you have
Matt, don't
none.
speak to me,
We can
bro.
tell you're an incel. You're an
Well, that's
Hey,
not
incel. We
true
can
Ewok,
either.
tell. You hate
Yo,
Ewok,
women.
Matt,
We
don't
know
speak to me,
this.
faggot. You're
You
below
hate
Ewok.
me, Matt.
women.
Thank you.
You hate women.
No, don't speak to me, fat
Nani,
Matt.
so little.
Matt, don't
Nani,
speak to me.
Ewok, you got your raincoat while you're doing your route? Are you on your lunch break? Is
No, it's
that
a
what
nice
it
day
is?
out here.
Is
It's a
that why
nice day
you're
out here.
harassing
Yeah.
us? Is that why you're harassing us?
Wait, what does that have to
Because
do
you're
with
on your
like? What does
lunch
a
break?
raincoat have to do?
Enjoy,
What does that have
because
to
it's
do with
about. Oh,
anything?
I thought you were like in the east. It's about to rain, so I want to make sure that while you
Yo,
walk your route
I
and
can't
you're
hear you
filling
through
out
that
those
thick ass
mailbox,
accent.
How are we
and
reasoning if people are just
guess
talking
why
about
I have
their
an accent, Io.
experiences? Like, what
Wait,
is
what
your
do
Guess
you
why
think?
I
What do
have
you
an
reason?
think?
accent.
Reason? Yo, Matt, why are you fucking talking
Like,
over people? That's
dude,
weird. Yo,
you
lying.
being an
This a
asshole.
rude.
We
This
having
rude
a
ass nigger,
conversation and
bro.
you're being
Unreal.
rude. You know what?
Yo,
Goodbye.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Yo, lying.
Yeah,
Is that what happens when you let liberals take over your
so
country? You have
so
people
Nani,
just emote
Nani,
and virtue signal.
Nani, do you
Yes, Mr.
grant that?
Finley.
Do you grant that same, you know, symmetry with your mates? So you don't believe in monogamy. Do you grant them that same freedom
Yeah, I
of
didn't
not
say
being
I don't.
monogamous with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whoever you're with, you should align in how you want your relationship to form, whatever variance that is. But I come from a community where, like Matt said, you can't approach people's family if you're not of a certain standard. And you're right, Matt. There's no my brother studied music, Matt. Like, there's no way that any African family would allow that kind of bullshit unless he felt comfortable in relying on stuff that my family provided him. There's just, I think, in Hack Up, you said it too, like culture matters, right? Like if you're from an Armenian family, like I'm pretty sure that their
Oh my
standards
god,
of
this fifth
marriage and
grader.
relationship matters more significantly than say like a white ethnocentric, I mean Christian Judeo relationship would. What do you
We
have to
don't
provide,
White,
a walk?
we don't
ethnocentric,
allow we don't
judo
So the
allow
biggest,
Christian.
I
options.
corrected myself, you
Armenian is
dumbass.
Christian
Like, what the
Judeo.
fuck is
We don't
wrong with
allow
you?
options in our culture, right? Because you don't
so
have the
Yeah,
opportunity of
you do
options.
marriage, arranged
You
marriage.
have no, we don't do arranged marriage either, but you have a small selection size, right? And that's where options are bad. That's why I agree with Lion on this. Having options isn't a good thing.
Yeah,
options
right.
are
Like
more
at
valuable.
least in this like hyper, at least this
Armenian
hyper
women and
emotive like.
Armenian men can't marry outside of the culture because they're going to be ostracized by their culture if they do so.
Is
it
Alexis
creates
Ohanian
confusion.
ostracized?
It creates confusion within the culture. You bringing in your new Indian girlfriend to your culture, and it just like they may not necessarily directly say something about like, hey, listen, you couldn't find a decent Armenian girl. You couldn't what they we just stopped having
Exactly.
girls or something. What happened? What happened
What's wrong with
And
you that you couldn't get an Armenian woman to come
to
home?
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
did we all of a sudden
I
did
would
all
say
of the
I
Armenian
could,
women
but why
die? What
settle?
what happened? But no, but that it's going to create a conflict within the older culture. That's what's going to happen. You're going to ultimately kind of like ostracize not just the girl that you've chosen into your culture, but you're also pushing yourself out indirectly. Because see,
and op,
it's not even a negative thing. I mean, it's not even like directly like, hey, we don't like your kind. It's more like I'm speaking a language around my fellow peers, and everybody understands except now Hagab has to take the time to interpret what they're saying to the newcomer. Like, oh, well, they're
Yeah,
actually talking
that
about
is, and Lion, that is
they're
so
talking
true
about the
because
male.
it is something that I experienced to the point where my wife had to literally take like classes to kind of assimilate with the culture so she could fit in because she's Black American and I'm Haitian and most of our friends and family are Haitian and she had to literally like go to Haiti by herself and
Correct.
get to know the culture, accept the culture, understand certain things we do on
And
January the
truthfully,
first, and stuff like that.
that could take a
And
lifetime.
and it did. I mean, although my family was very welcoming and helpful with that process, but I can imagine if you are part of a family that doesn't accept that and they don't help, it's gonna be very, very difficult to bring someone outside in.
That's also
I,
a
I also
credit
wanted to
to
point
your
out.
wife, right? Because your wife took the time and had the ability to learn.
Right, and I give her tons of
And it
credit for
comes
that
from her
because
father.
she exactly because she was open-minded enough, one, to even go to Haiti because we don't have the best reputation, and to go multiple times and take her time out to understand certain things. And like you said, it she took that from her dad because that's the way her dad raised her, to be open-minded and to be, I mean, to be that kind of person. If you don't have a good family around you, you're not gonna be raised well to be the kind of person that can assimilate with the culture and be one with other people.
I also
Wait,
wanted to
Agap,
add
are
on
you
to
are you
line. I
religious,
also wanted
Agap?
to add
To
on
be
to.
comfortable in her
I,
femininity, ultimately, is what her father taught her, right? It's to understand and value male and female roles. That's all based on the dad.
Wait,
I
Agap, are
also
you
want to point out.
religious?
I am, but it's a new
Eh,
thing. It's not a
Well,
lifetime thing.
Flanders was trying to get a point
So,
out.
so I also want to add to Lion's point about this options and it being a bad thing. Having all these options, and again, this is my anecdotal perspective. It gives them a false sense of self, a false sense of what their real options are. So, for example, if you go to a car dealership and they don't run your credits and they say you can have anything on the lot, right? They don't know your income. You have this, you believe in your head with your 420 credit score and $12 an hour income that you can have that Lexus, you know what I'm saying, or the AMG, right? And that's one of the biggest problems in our community. That's why we have this mismatch. That's why we have low marriage rates. That's why, like, respectfully, and it's this thing that we feed into our women because we give them this false sense of worth by giving them all these freaking options. Like, again, and again, it's anecdotal. I remember dating a young lady. She was a manager at a chain store. Literally told me I wasn't on her level. She did not know what a lobbyist was. She didn't know what they did. She had no idea. She just assumed. And when we got talk about money, dude, I paid more in taxes than she earned. But and this lady is out here dating, and there are guys that may be better than her in her in her league, right? That she is not even going to consider because she believes that she's higher than what she is.
But don't
That
lie, Finley.
all
She was a
because of all
fine
these
red
fake
bone.
options. You said what, Concrete?
Uh,
She was a fine red bone with a big old booty and big old.
She was. You know this chick,
I
what
already
were the
know. I
words she
already
used?
know.
Sorry. Did she literally use the words "You're not on my level"?
She literally used the words, "You're not on my level." She said, I date dudes that got X, Y, and Z. And it was curse word laced, and I'm not gonna repeat it, but that was the conversation. It was two dates, and that was the second date, and I was like, yeah, this ain't, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
out.
Yeah,
she
but
sounds
here's the crazy
awful.
thing.
But I
But
will.
here's the crazy thing that happens in this instance like that, Flanders. Because she's uninformed, she pretty much crosses herself out of the dating pool, even with men like you, because she doesn't know what she's talking about. A lot of times, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, most women, if you're with a guy, 9 times out of 10, he's actually better than you.
Can I see the
But
stats for
you did
that?
dodge a bullet, Finley.
He's
You
You
actually
said
know,
he.
what,
I
Mike?
mean,
Oh,
You
you
definitely
dodged
did.
a
absolutely.
bullet
Can I
because if
just?
that was an indicator, you're like there was so much
Exactly.
more to come.
But
Oh,
yeah, I
I
just
know.
want to
I know. I
say
dodged a bullet.
if you're using status and money to attract people, though, like in general, not you, Mr. Finley, but just in general, then you're only going to attract people who are interested in status and money.
Oh
what other
wow,
way?
thank
Hey,
you.
no, wait. Let's go with this. I want to hear this. This is something new. Alaska, what other way can you attract a woman?
Um, yeah, with your kindness, with your sense of
Kindness.
humor, with your charm, but yeah, kindness. That's a big thing for me. If I see a guy treating, say, the waiter kindly and doing small things, maybe he does stuff in the community. I find that very hot.
Okay, Alaska, stop for a minute. All the men in the room, can you please point out ever a time in your life where you were just being kind and that attracted large sums of women?
It that's how I
Well,
Yeah.
define
I
it.
look at
was lying,
like
lying. I was
is
No,
is
kindly
women,
is this the
wait,
thing
women
lying. I
will
where
got
take
guys
wait,
are
wait,
advantage of you if you're
where
lying,
guys are
kind.
walking a puppy
lying.
because
No,
they
no, no. I
attract you?
kindly lying. I kindly pulled my Mercedes up to up to the valet, to the valet guy, and this chick
See?
was like, "Ooh, hey, are you
And
so nice?"
and
Character.
privately tip the guy
Well,
$30.
if yeah, if you tip
Right.
well, that's an act of kindness, and that was appreciated.
What's so awesome? Fuck, I had a point that I was gonna go with talk to you about Finley. Fuck. Shit.
About the
Oh, oh,
lies.
oh, oh. Yeah. So Finley, are you? I suspect you are gentleman enough to not ghost a woman and tell her why you were going to cease communication or interest in dating her. And is that how you got her to be so candid and, blatant to say you're not on my level? Because you were giving her an exit interview and you said, "Look here, Shaniqua, I, I'm about to, I'm never going to call you again." Is that
Yeah,
is that what
I was,
happened?
because I was, I'm quick to check a woman on her attitude, concrete. Dude, attitude is like 99, well, looks too, but attitude is a big deal for me, right? And so, yes, I was checking her on her attitude, and she fired back by telling me, who is you? Who is you? You ain't on my level.
Hey, check it out. I want to show the women in the room something. I want you to look into the audience right now, and I want you to pick out the men that are using their status and their profession to make themselves more attractive versus the men that are being, I don't know, kind.
Definitely Trump.
All right, that's Matt. But he's just giving you his political affiliate
Grant
I mean,
opinion.
Cardone.
we need to be honest. I mean, women are not nice to people who are kind to them. Women don't
Thank
respond to
They're
you.
not.
kindness.
They're
So,
Is
absolutely
it
but
not,
look.
Matt.
possible?
All right,
Humans aren't nice to people
all
that
right.
are kind to them.
I want you to look at Brad. Brad S. All he is showing you is that he's just some bum in a park somewhere that's sitting there in a depressed look. I want you to look at L.A. He's showing you he's got a little gold chain. The kind of women you can look and
But
see what
we've
kind of
heard
women he.
Brad talk before, so
Wait, well, hold on. You can look at his picture and tell what kind of women he's trying to attract, and those are usually the bonquishas. Look at Sammy. He's already his picture here. He's already showing you the kind of women that he's attracted, and they're not really women at all. You understand? Look at Cameron. What similarities do Cameron have in his PTR that you would see in Finley's?
But Lion, you were broke. How did you ever get ladies?
Stop for a minute. Stop. I'm making a. This is psychological. I want you to learn
They
something.
were high school sweethearts, right?
it's not
Yeah,
psychological because you're making
it
this
is
Yeah,
up.
that's
Like
what the
people
psychological.
vehicle
only put
store.
up photos
He
to get sexual
he's
attention.
what he's doing. Listen, ladies, what he's doing is showing you that he has something. What is he showing you in Cameron's picture?
Aviator license.
Right. So what does that mean? Now look at Mr. Philander's picture.
I don't know
Notice
any
this.
woman who's coming on here to date.
Philanders.
Yeah, so
That's actually
what you
ironic.
so no all of these men know something about you as the woman to put the potential woman. They know they know that if I put a picture of myself in now I don't have a picture like King Nani does. None of these guys have pictures like King Nani. You see what we're both presenting to the general population? One is showing the population. He's showing his beauty by what he does, his status, and you're showing your beauty by showing your ass. You want to show your shape. You want to show the men in the room of your
Where's my ass in
vitality.
this picture? What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
we can see your hips and we can see your shape.
So you
And what that what
why are you
So
zooming in on
gross,
my hips
please.
and my
yeah,
shape, bro?
You're leading with beauty is his point.
thank
Very,
you.
very weird.
And the men are
Please don't
leading with
zoom
what?
in.
What are the men leading with?
Their
Just
status and resources.
stupid.
There you go. So even though nobody came off the mic and said, "Oh no, I don't believe this" or "I don't believe that," we naturally see what everybody's leading with because we know this about each other. We know that you're attracted to the aviator. We know that you're attracted to the money, the go getter. The men, and you know that we're attracted to the shapely women,
So many
the youth.
opinions.
That's not an opinion. It's a fucking biological fact.
Biological fact.
I don't think that's a biological fact. It's at most a social fact.
Can you
But
imagine? Can you imagine being in a relationship with Alaska, and you're telling her about reality, and she's always got some
Well,
fucking
that's why
crazy
she's
ass.
in multiple
Can
relationships,
you?
right?
And
She's
she
like,
has
that's
some. Can
true.
you not overtalk me, bro?
You can
And
definitely
she
That's
calm
true.
has
down. I would
some.
never date you, so you're
And
safe.
she has some
Okay.
it's too
crazy
loud.
ass. And she has some crazy ass rebuttal that doesn't like contact with reality, and you gotta fucking
You're talking about
have somebody try
reality.
to.
You've been talking for
1 second,
hours
bro. 1 second,
about
bro.
your emotions,
One
and
second,
you
bro.
haven't said a
Calm down,
single
bro. I let you go,
statistic.
bro. Just chill. And you have
No.
to fucking deal with basically somebody who has like a childish outlook on life where everything is supposed to be utopia, bullshit. And you're like, man, we're
Aw.
You
adults,
literally
bro.
have no
We're
idea
adults.
who I
One
am or
second,
I
that
love
sir.
that
you're
One
for you,
second, sir.
Alaska. Like that
It's
you're
so
We have,
happy.
stupid. Thank you.
all
Thank
right,
you so
yeah, we
much.
have, you're like,
He's
we're
literally
adult.
on here screaming
Can you
every
let me finish,
day,
bro?
but
Can you
I'm
let
the
me finish?
childish one that
Can you let me
I love
finish?
Concrete's abilities to turn
he's
adages
so
into insults.
stupid. Yeah, but that's literally all he has. It's like his love language. It's really
No, it's funny
worrying.
actually. And it's accurate.
And
It
It's
is
really
funny
everybody
and
worrying how
it
it's
is
always
funny and
pointed at
it's
the
accurate.
women. It's really weird.
Duran. Look at this picture. What is he showing you? What he either professionally does or as a hobby, which also potentially makes money. Look what he's showing you. Look what the men are showing you. They're showing you their ability to gain and acquire resources. That's the biological side of this Alaska that you're obviously missing or purposely trying to deny.
Just please bring some statistics or something, because you're just
Oh my
saying women are
God.
this, women are that, and it's just gotten really dull listening to.
Alaska, have you ever listened to? There's a podcast. I think it's called "Interview with a CEO" or something like that. And
That sounds nice. Think
he
I have,
interviews a
yeah.
lot of heavy hitters. And he interviewed the CEOs of Bumble, the CEO of Tinder, the CEO of
Oh no, I've heard
Hinge,
this one before. Yeah.
and they look at the data of dating, right? And like that's where they say like the whole idea that 20% of the guys get like 80%. Literally, they're talking about how like this idea of like the old school values of you got or no the values of being nice and all that stuff and character matter, and they've even said that from the data that they gather, women may say they're looking for the nice guy or whatever, but they don't. They date
Yeah.
looks, they date resources. That's what they're picking. They're coming into the grocery store saying I'm on a
So
diet, but they leave the grocery store with the cookies
yeah.
and the what I'm
So
saying.
And
And
you know
so
so
the
what?
issue
I
with
mean,
and
this
you
so
is
should
that's
that
see.
Doesn't match
so
the
so wait a
group.
minute.
I'll be
Let me
quiet.
land, Alaska. So that's why when you say stuff like you date guys that are kind, you get so much pushback because respectfully, that's just not the reality. Maybe your reality, but that's not the reality.
okay. So when I said that, there's a reason I use I words because I know that's how I date. I was
But
never saying
Alaska,
that
it's
that's
not
the
just
case.
kindness, right? That's just
No,
one
Yo,
I
factor
Nani,
said
that
shut
other
you're.
things.
up!
No, it's
Fuck.
true though.
Alaska, if
I
she's
said
not
other
telling me to shut up,
things.
why are you interrupting our dialogue as women?
It's
As
I don't know why
women.
it
Is
keeps
that all you do
happening.
is just appeal to that like a retard?
Yeah,
Like it's
because you're an
unreal.
incel. That's why. You only interrupt women and you only tell women to
That's
shut
not
up.
true at
But
all.
when
Now
the
you're just
men
like
interrupt
painting
each
a
other, you
narrative.
don't tell them to shut up.
Not, that's
You're
definitely
angry
false.
little
That's
man.
definitely false.
Okay, can we go back to what Alaska's
I
saying
seem to hear
about
you
her
both.
Yeah, let her
experience,
finish her
please?
sentence, maybe, for once.
You're a weirdo.
I've actually forgotten what we were saying. Yeah, no, I
Oh,
said
you
that
were
that
talking about
was
the nice
Walk. Were
character
you here when I
traits.
thank you.
told
Yeah.
Nani
So
to
when I
shut
said
up
the
like
nice thing,
75 times?
Oh, suck it. You were saying camels yesterday. Continue, Alaska.
thank you. Yeah, when I said yeah, the nice thing, I also said other things as well. Like makes me laugh is, like there's other things that you can be attracted to, but it's just really
Thank
sad
you,
to
thank you,
hear
thank
these
you.
kinds of things
Yeah, thank you.
because
So,
you're based. I'm
Nanny,
still talking concrete. Sorry, because you
yeah,
end
but
up
you're not
pointing
saying
this.
nothing. You're not saying nothing.
Doesn't matter. I'm talking. I have
You
to
just want
listen
to
to you
talk? All right,
scream
go
all
ahead. Go
day.
ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
because I'm
Please
saying
hurry up.
things.
Please hurry up.
So fucking rude all the time.
Yeah, you're not rude at all, right? You didn't just fucking shout me down to the point where I stopped speaking, right? You didn't
No,
just do
because I've
that
been
5 seconds
gaming this whole
ago.
time. What are you talking
Oh
about?
my God, are you that fucking poorly? Your memory's that bad? When I was begging you to shut the fuck up when I was speaking?
Alaska, feel free to tell him shut the
Okay,
fuck up.
come on,
Just feel
guys.
free.
Concrete, shut the fuck up. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
I love that for you,
yeah.
Alaska.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm learning. Yeah, if you want to look into this properly, I really
We
recommend the
don't
book
care. Shut up. Be
called
quiet.
Bell
Go
Hooks.
ahead. Be
I
quiet.
really recommend the book by Bell Hooks called All About Love, and it talks about the hierarchy of relationships, especially in relation to race as well as gender. And I think it would kind of open some of your
Good
eyes.
job.
You
Good
definitely
job.
need it.
Good job.
Um,
Yeah, like I gotta like
concrete, go to
I mean, you
therapy.
want to go concrete, or do you have something to say concrete? Or you?
Go ahead, bro. I'll go after you.
He
I mean,
does.
I mean that not to like shift the topic, but like, I mean, Alaska, do you have this kind of like view where you just like back up or accept women just given the fact they're women, or no?
No.
He mentioned bell hooks, bro.
I mean, like you would, oh, it's like you evaluate like the people you social, like you hang out with, given like what their behaviors and values, right?
And how I
Like
interact
what?
with them, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I guess like, what's the standard for you then, right? Like, is it
What,
just like
dating
you know,
or
like okay, let's no, just like being a friend with someone, even.
oh well, it depends on what kind of friend and blah blah blah. But it's not really standard. If we get along, we get along. I have people that I don't necessarily agree with, ideology
He's
wise,
never gonna
but
be honest, a walk. Like,
Do,
try to
do,
But
do you
she's
think
only
interrogate
talking
her.
from
ideology?
her experience, though.
Try to
Yo,
Like, she's
King,
not
interrogate
saying
shut
this
her
is
for
up.
honesty is
everybody.
not gonna work, bro.
King, shut
But
up, dude. Like,
concrete,
I mean,
she's
I guess
not
like,
saying it's everybody. She's just saying this
holy
is her
fuck, why
experience.
did she do
Oh,
this?
bug, because
Because
we're
she
having a
doesn't
concrete keeps
control
conversation.
herself.
interrupting.
Because
That's
she gets
No,
why.
but
away
you
with it.
always
That's why.
no, no,
She
no, no,
takes
no, no.
liberties because she gets away with it.
Look
That's
at
the
him.
worst
He's
part
so
about a nanny,
upset.
right? Is she
Literally talking
knows she
about
has
yourself.
the leeway and she fucking puts the pedal to the metal. She doesn't have any fucking courtesy for
As the
anybody else.
person who
She
screamed at
takes
us for two
advantage. She
hours.
takes full
The
advantage
irony.
of
Concrete won't
all
get
of
the
her
irony of what you're saying
privileges.
right now.
That's why you're a disgusting person.
Why
Because
is
we all
you
have
saying I should be
privileges. We
tased?
all have privileges, but guess what? You know, we recognize we have the privilege and we don't fucking abuse it because we can. We say,
You
you know what?
overtalk
I'm
everyone
gonna
every
be
day, concrete.
courteous enough.
What are you
I'm gonna be
talking about?
conscientious enough to let other fucking people live, even though I could take
But you
advantage.
won't let
But
Alaska
you're
talk,
such a
though.
My
You asked
disgusting
her a
answers are
human
question, then you won't
irritating
being
all the
answer.
that you
time.
never fucking shut up because you know you can. But when you're in
No.
other rooms where you can't take advantage, you don't act
Oh,
like
you're mad
this.
because they kicked you out the other room. It's not my fault.
Oh,
My
and
friends
then
don't
you
like you.
lie,
Oh,
you
that's
You
lie
got kicked
why.
incessantly,
out.
right?
It's
You
not my
lie
fault they kicked you
incessantly to
out. They
fucking
literally kicked you
avoid
out. You
confrontation,
can I
avoid
can ping people in
responsibility.
here.
So, Mr.
So
Finley,
you
I just want
ask
to point to
Alaska a
something Mr.
question,
Finley
but you
said
won't let her
earlier.
answer
Just
questions.
shut up
I'm just
sometimes,
gonna,
bro.
Mr.
Shut up
Finley.
Yo,
Stop
Cognito,
sometimes.
indulging
yo,
in your
yo,
lower
Nito, shut
self.
Oh my
up.
fucking
Lower your
god,
We
bro!
I
volume.
was having a
Damn.
conversation, Cognito. Wait your turn, bro. Holy fuck.
But no, you let them talk over you. You didn't say shit until I came off a mic. So what's that
Wait, what do
about?
you? No, I didn't say that. Now you're fucking lying again.
Now
Are you
you're
like
talking.
delusional or something?
They both were going at it, and you didn't say shit.
No,
But
they
when I get off
interrupted
my, go
me.
ahead,
No,
go ahead,
and I
go ahead.
said
I'm after
no. I
you.
did
Go ahead,
interrupt them.
go ahead. I'm after you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Appreciate it, retard. Like, I mean, I guess I'll ask. The question is like, is it just like given somebody's ideological predisposition, you'll be friends with them, or do you think like the kind of process in which they justify or validate those ideologies is important to you as well?
Oh yes, both. They have to be active. Like I wouldn't. I've had enough relationships with people who just
Not
use their
active. Not like
politics.
active. Yeah, I'm just like asking, like, I'm talking about like the way they came to have those beliefs. Is that like important to you at all?
No, 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 no. I have a really big view of this idea of moral luck and how you're born into a situation, which means maybe you've never met a queer person, so you're not going to know the words. Like I give a lot of grace in that sense.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, but I guess like the kind of question is like, oh my fucking god, like I just like wonder because it seems like when you kind of like parse the people you talk to, it's like you seem to value like um they're kind of like sex and then what they believe, like, and like it begs the question of like, what's the point of holding ideologies if like the justification to how they came to those things are just very poor? It seems like a kind of like consequentialist or utilitarian approach. I don't know.
Can you
Does
give
that
me an
make sense? Or
example?
well, I mean, like just like take
Oh,
like
hang on. Sorry, you're in the
uh,
matrix.
Thank the good Lord.
Retard effect.
Try now, maybe. Oh,
All
oh,
right.
you're still there. Sorry.
Oh, thank God, still there.
Man, you
There is
never
a
you.
God.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Io, how's the day? How's the day?
All
Can't
right, so
hear
I
him.
just want to jump in real quick while the retarders trying to break through the matrix. Anyways,
No,
I
I wanted
just
to
wanted
say,
to
hey,
point to
hope you're doing well,
Mr.
Cogito, and
Finley.
hope you're doing well, Io.
Yeah,
Love
Yeah,
you,
well,
man.
appreciate that.
thank you. You as
Oh,
well.
Huey, what the fuck about us, bro?
So, so Mr. Finley, I'm not saying
Well,
that
back.
it's a matter of context, and I'm not saying that you know that data isn't accurate, but it is a matter of context when you point to online dating. That's a specific pool of people. Now, you know,
The majority
to
of dating
compare
too.
that to men and women that's actually out there that's being social rather than jumping on a social media platform, you can actually, you know, have a conversation with a woman and she wouldn't just imagine if you didn't see her profile or she didn't see your profile at all, things will like unfold differently in real time. She might even give you a chance, right? But let's just say she saw your profile after the fact, she have given you given you a chance and read all of the crap that's on there, right? Then she may change her mind. So I think that if you kind of throw away like the context of just like online dating, because I think that is like a pool of specific people that just stick to online dating, right? And they just go through these profiles and stuff like that. That's a different story. But on the streets when you're talking to someone, I think it unfolds differently, and I think that's where a lot of the attraction happens when you're like hit this space where there's no like precursor of like who you are and what you do, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that like points more to like more accurate data other than just like this online dating thing.
Where
But
does
So
that
so
happen though?
Cogito, you propose nuance to right, and certainly there's
Yo,
nuance in dating,
Cognito's
right?
crazy.
But the majority of people in 2025 are dating online. A lot of younger millennials, Zennials certainly don't know
People
how
don't
to
even do a
do.
credit
They don't know
report.
how to do the whole approach and talk, right? That's a
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
that's a
bigger
dying
problem.
that's a dying art that with Gen X. Like it's going out of style with Gen X. That's the landline home phone, right? Like there are people, certainly people that have landline home phones today, right? But it's not the majority. Most people are meeting online, which is why this new artificial way of looking of dating exists, right? And this is why this whole idea of having more options exists, because again, you could be a young lady. I mean, look at women have way more followers on social media, even in freaking college sports. They make way more money through the what are those deals? Image likeness,
NIA,
those
NIL.
NIL deals than guys do, just by the simple fact that the girls they can draw in more followers just by simply putting their body in a picture on a profile. And so
so
yeah, your nuance
The guys
exists,
still
but
get
the
paid though.
majority of people are dating online.
well, are you putting
That's a
that?
fact.
Are you putting the fault on the women or are you putting the fault on the men?
I'm
Because
not
if the
I'm not
women are
assigning
just
I'm not
oh
assigning blame. I'm just
okay.
simply giving you the weather.
He's
And,
just talking about the asymmetry in college. I think
and
that's also
Finley,
what I felt a lot. The
and I
asymmetry. There,
and I
just a
feel
quick,
like
just a quick comment, concrete. So, like, I'll say this: that in college, women have the advantage because they have options. They have you. They have men in their 30s, men in their 40s. So, and men in their 30s and 40s naturally just make more. It's interesting to hear all the stories. I also had these kind of experiences, so appreciate everybody sharing it. Thanks.
Philly, when you're saying everyone's dating online, are you also including venues like this where you meet a young Philly in a clubhouse room and then you go into the DMs and you start dating? Or do you mean the official, we came here to swipe left or swipe right? Are you, which one are you talking about? Or are you
Both
talking about
because
both? Okay, okay,
both
okay.
because Instagram is the number one dating site, believe it or not.
Really? Is that
Yes.
been measured?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. These CEOs want to know of these dating platforms, want to know where people are, and so this is what they do. And they've learned that like the majority of the hookups and relationships are coming from Instagram.
Sliding into the DMs is the ultimate swipe right. You know,
It is the ultimate swipe
and
right.
so Finley, so so I think they were talking about data that came specifically from the Match.com type websites, and you're saying that that extends past that into all social media.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah,
That makes
that's
sense. That makes sense.
it's a great dude. His that guy's YouTube channels. He has some good interviews on there, fam. It's and when I was listening to these CEOs of these freaking day sites, like they dive deep into this because obviously they want to know the secret sauce, right? Because that's good for their business, believe it or not. Hooking up is, they said, just hooking up, being known as a hookup is not actually good. They want to have like actual relationships because they believe there's a market there, and they want to, improve their platforms to kind of, to make them conducive to these type of relationships.
And they want to upsell those secrets. Like,
Correct.
oh, did you know that if you did this to your profile?
Well, you could get 5 more hits, right?
Yeah, but if you're an average looking man, you will not get any women swiping on you. That's
Mr.
the sad
Finley, can you
reality
put
of
Speak
the
for
social life.
link
yourself.
in for the podcast in the chat when you get a chance?
Lion, you there? On the
The
phone.
podcast is called Diary of a CEO. It's done by a biracial man.
Oh, look at Huey looking
Your
out for the
worst
light
enemy.
skins.
Thanks, Huey.
Yeah, your worst enemy, Mr. Huey.
Ayo, you good, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are
Look
you?
at
I hope you're
the
well as well.
Good, good, good. Can't complain.
yo
Hey,
Huey.
Walk, you're still breaking up, my man.
Oh, my bad. Apologies.
And now you didn't, so that's ironic.
So let's look at Nani, right? Nani's like the prime example of
Can we
I
just
what's
thought we
ignore
working
weren't
her
going
now.
to make this
existence?
We're
personal.
not, we're not. I never said
Why
that.
do
I
we
never
have
promised
to?
that. You're an example. Sorry, you're here. You're gonna be used as an example.
No,
So
leave me
Nani, we can
alone.
see,
I'm
we
going to
can
leave.
see. All right, goodbye. We'll still talk about you. Doesn't matter. So Nani, we can see, has all the, let's say, metrics for you know a long-term relationship. But for some strange reason, there seems to be something that's happening that doesn't lend to it, right? And unfortunately, I think that is the pervasive quality amongst that generation. And maybe, I don't know about the next one, but it's almost like a self-sabotaging.
All right,
Yeah,
I got a topic. So yesterday, Trump offered Canada protection from missiles. I think he called it the Golden Dome protection. Anybody know about this?
I get Golden Dome all the time, nigga.
Damn, I missed that one. Damn, that was my fault. Anyways, so if anybody knows anything about it, so he offered them the Golden Dome protection under one contingency. All he wants is for them to give up the sovereignty and become the 51st state.
Yeah, what happens if the missiles come from under the dome?
Wait,
it's
real
crazy though
quick.
because what is it? The King of England announced that Canada is like no man's. Like there was a particular Latin phrase that escapes me momentarily, but he used a particular Latin phrase to basically say like Canada is no longer like a country; it belongs to the people or something like that. And I was like, say what? And this just makes it easier for Trump to engage this 51st state thing. So, believe it or not, this is actually like advancing in some weird way, whether or not it's a conspiracy. I'm going to pull up the link here in a second so you can see the King of England basically use this phrase. And it might actually be, hey, look, we want unification. It's like a new kind of commonwealth. I think that's more likely, but something
Oh,
like that.
he's
Y'all
used to
think
growing
Canada
up
and
in
the
a
states are
family where
gonna
they
are
owned
gonna are gonna
countries.
combine?
Look, if
No.
China is going to take over the
No.
world with
That would
AI,
be.
a lot of countries have to unify because
Yeah,
they're
then
not going to be
that's not
able to
gonna
fight.
happen. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Io,
Canada
respectfully.
already a
But
part of the
Io,
Commonwealth.
if I were to happen, fam, the blue team would win. Dude, Canada's freaking super liberal.
I
The blue
know,
team
I
would
know.
freaking run the table for decades.
Yeah, but there's actually like I would say
Yo,
something like a conservative swell here that recently has emerged. Like I think it's interesting to note that people are tired of the, you
Didn't
know,
y'all just elect your last prime minister based on anti-Trump?
no, no,
But
no, no.
but 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 but, you, but you're
Our
wrong,
last prime
Finley.
Yeah,
minister.
that
Hold on.
conservative fell apart when Trump started doing stuff.
Well, like
But
The,
Finley,
the, the
Canada.
conservative
the
was
guy that
supposed
we
to
have
win.
wasn't even like he was appointed into that position and then he ran for the position. So it's like corrupt banker. That's who we have now. I'm sorry to say. And this banker hosted parties for Prince Andrew. So I'll leave it there.
Yo,
Yeah, but that's
before
still
we
the
go
that was the liberal
to
candidate, not the
So
conservative
Finley, you
candidate.
would be incorrect about the Canada just be adding more blue to it. It would actually they would have to redistrict, and they would do it similar to like,
Correct.
and so like you would have individual states. Canada wouldn't be in the whole entirety a 51st state. There's no way that would be the largest state in the union. They would have overrepresentation in comparison to their population. I mean, you're going to have maybe they keep the same. What do they call them? Provinces up north. They would probably keep the same provinces. But I mean, you're looking at places like Yukon. You couldn't make that a state. I mean, it would have what does it have? A population of 1,000 people. So I mean, you're looking at a big redistricting and a redesign of the Canadian territory itself. And Canada's only truly been independent since like 1982, 1983. So that's when Parliament in England gave it its full sovereignty. So I mean, in theory, they could be. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. They haven't had truly their independence for a very long time, and their economic decisions haven't really pushed them to the forefront of many first world nations. In comparison, they've always been kind of a latchkey kid, if you will.
You think they'd be able to redistrict all that blue out of there, like they do here, Brad?
Well, they redistricting, rezoning, there would be a massive wave. There would also be shifts in populations. For instance, we have many Canadians that own properties or vacation homes down here, and they're going on their social media posts saying we're going to give those up. But let's be honest. Toronto is a major city. It would be akin to New York, Chicago, Houston. I would probably put it in there, not LA. It is a very beautiful city. It was at one point. It's gone through some different changes, but even there, it's not just overwhelmingly blue. There's a lot of conservative approaches in there, and it would be how they drew up the districts and how that representation would work. I don't. Democrats seem to think it would be just all blue. Canada is not really all blue, and even their blue parts, they're not Democrat the way Americans are Democrat. Let's just put it that way. And also, they like believe in things such as immigration control. Like, go try to move to Canada. Go look up how to immigrate there. They're going to put you through a rigmarole far worse, far more complex in some cases than what the U.S. does or what Trump plans to do. So, I mean, you just have to take it with a grain of salt. It's like saying Democrats in Texas really they're not the same as the rest of America. Those Democrats in Texas value their fucking guns, and they're going to cling close to that Second Amendment. And anything that kind of impedes on that, they're just not going to support. Beto O'Rourke comes to mind.
So to be clear, I'm not saying they're all blue, right? I'm going to say the majority because there's millions of Republicans in California, but you would never say California is a red state, right? And
It's
I
the
recognize,
way their voting system works. So you have to actually go through and look at how they do their tallies, and even look at their voter ballot. What did you guys have?
well,
194 candidates on there, and I mean it was
well,
like a
let me,
world map just to vote.
right, but well, let me finish this point. So I get what you're saying, right? And I don't even think immigration is a liberal or a conservative topic because they flip flopped. Like literally, they flip flopped. The Republicans were the ones 30 years ago saying, "Hey, we need to have comprehensive reform and amnesty or whatever." In fact, I think wasn't it Reagan that granted the largest amnesty, large group of immigrants, granted a large group of immigrants amnesty. So I think that immigration. I think that the reason the American system is so bad is capitalism, right? But that's another story, not here or there. I just don't think. I think that they're more. I believe that they're more liberal than we are here in the states because they're definitely very much a lot of liberal topics they lean a lot of the topics they lean more toward the liberal side than they do the conservative side. I get the gun argument in Texas, but like things like gay marriage and abortion, all those topics they're on the blue side or the
It,
liberal
it
side.
depends. It depends because again, it's not universal across the entire country, and
Yeah,
even
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
so like they'll lean left on certain things, but then they're absolutely staunch conservative with the pushback against Trudeau, which happened multiple times, even under his his administration, and even Carney now. You even have people on the left, or what you would deem on the left, giving pushback to Carney because, again, they're not really thrilled with how he managed to finagle his way in there. They weren't happy with the ballot process. They weren't happy with the votes. So, like, it wasn't like there was this massive cheering for this. And they're not even happy with the parliament. They're not happy with their representatives. They're not even happy with their mayors. Like, you still have secessionists and a secession movement going on in Quebec. So, I mean, you're dealing with a multitude of things that I think people just don't realize on the Canadian side. I'm not a big fan of the Canadian government. I think they're there. I also don't like the fact that they try to be really polite when, in part, you're the fucking reasons we have to have the Geneva Conventions, you fucking Canadian fucks. You shot fucking unarmed prisoners and civilians of war and dumped them into mass graves, which is why we ended up with the fucking Geneva Conventions and how to treat prisoners. So, I mean, like,
Yep.
not all that cute and cuddly.
Yep, yep. And I'll
But
just
on the
add,
on the
just quickly,
go
just
ahead.
a quick add. The Nazis, how they treated the Jews, was inspired by how the Canadians treated the natives. In fact, like they brought books over and they were like, "Hey, we need to study how the Canadians almost wiped out these people and subjugated them because we want to do the same thing to these people." So that's some Canadian
Well,
history for you. It used to be called the Dominion of Canada, a nation for the Aryan people. So that's
well,
fucked.
well. Real quick, just want to make this quick point. Now move out the way. So if I were to think about the major issues, right? The major issues you got tax policy, you got healthcare, like LGBTQ. I'm sorry, LGBTQ. You have immigration, right? On like those major topics, because you're from Canada, like you think that the majority of Canadians on those specific topics, and this is just like an anecdotal experiment, you think that most Canadians lean to the right on those major topics?
No, I think the country's split in half, I think. So the
You think
recent
it's like
election
here?
showed it's
You think
split
it's
in
like
half.
here? I don't. Elections don't matter to me. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
So,
you know, I think it's
because
polarization by the
right.
choice you have to make. People get polarized automatically. I choose this policy, you choose that policy. You're on the left, I'm on the right. We didn't decide if I was on the left. The policy was on the left. That's why I went to the left. So I would say that's kind of more what people follow here is the policies. But
So you think by and large that
wait, Finley.
Canadians are split on like gay marriage? You think by
So,
and large?
yeah, I would
Finley.
say half and half. Like with not necessarily like gay marriage, but probably more like LGBTQ stuff. Like there's still like if I go and visit parents, and you know we talk about what their kids say in class or something, they still giggle that you have to say he, she, they, them, right? It's like parents are giggling, right? So that's kind of where we're at.
So when you look at like votes like your healthcare, Canada doesn't have very many options in terms of healthcare. They either have their universal system, or if they can afford it, they can pay cash, or they can get some coverages that will be beneficial to them as like in a private insurance. But that's not universally accessible for the majority of Canadians due to
That's
a
right.
lot of provisions, laws, and other things, and they have serious problems with their healthcare system. There is a litany of complaints. One of the reasons why even you don't even hear people like Bernie Sanders talk about how great Canada's health system is, because he also realizes that there's inherent turmoil and issues in terms of their healthcare system, and that it would not work. It is not working currently. And now that Trump put us on most favored nation for under the pharmaceutical portion, which was a brilliant fucking move, which is why you even have Democrats that were championing for price controls on drugs now going and saying, let's make this a single item bill. We'll pass it with 100%. Um, Canada is sitting there like really pushing back, and why you have Carney giving these scathing rebukes along with England and other nations, because this most favored nation now all of a sudden puts the US in a very powerful position in terms of controlling what they're going to pay for the pharmaceuticals. This is a step that Democrats really didn't want in the past, Republicans didn't want in the past because their coffers were there. Trump's not really paid by the pharmaceuticals. I'm sure they donate a lot. I mean, he did do warp speed, but overall, he's not beholden to them. So this most favored nation status, watch it start to get pushed to be repealed, and watch other nations start to you'll see more complaints and more of those cracks will go through, and they'll become more apparent. And you'll understand why those you don't have Bernies going, let's do Canada's system, because they know how bad it really is on the inside. They know what the doctors are like. They know what the medical staff. They're good. They're good-hearted people. They mean to do well. They're just way overburdened. They're underpaid, and the regulations are not necessarily the same. And their stats show that.
So
Yeah, yeah. I would say
You think Canadians will want to revert to what we got
No, of
versus
course
what
Look,
they
I
not.
got?
took I waited 11 months to see a specialist, and
Yeah,
in
I'm
that
not.
time, my
I
cancer
reckon.
progressed. Right.
Listen, I
So
recognize
so
that.
that's a big problem. The
Well, wait, wait,
backlog
wait.
here.
Hold on. Pause. I recognize the because nobody likes the healthcare system, from what I hear, right? Right. But what I'm saying is, do you believe? I'm trying to look at the broad. I'm trying to broad brush the voters, right, and say, okay, on the issue of healthcare, are they going to lean more toward what we got here in the states, or are they going to lean toward improving what they got in Canada? And
So
you're.
if
Go
they
ahead.
are 51st state, they don't have a choice. So like, let's just say they become, I don't know, fucking 10 states. We become 61 stars.
Couldn't they do what Massachusetts did, Brad?
Well, you forget we did have a universal health care plan implemented by the states. I think it was Vermont, and it failed abysmally. Like within six
I thought
months.
Mass had a plan.
No, they didn't. Vermont had it, and it failed miserably. I believe New Hampshire or Vermont, one of the two. And it was like it went bankrupt so fast. It just you couldn't afford it. So if you were to keep the Canadian system, the states could, if they were broken up in the states, they could keep their healthcare system. In theory, California has Cal Med Pay. Texas has a Texas policy. Each state has the varying policies to some extent. And then they have Medicaid, Medicare, and a host of other things. And you got Child Health Plus, et cetera. But if Canada was to look at something like that, it really, their healthcare system isn't that far apart on Medicare or Medicaid, particularly Medicaid. And the problem that they have is that they just don't have enough resources to actually extend it to the people, nor do they have enough money in their programs to actually afford to treat and care for all the people of Canada or those that are needing those services. So, I mean, Canada might say yes because there is a significant group that does come to the US for treatments. They may go ahead and say, yep, especially now that pharmaceutical prices may be dropping significantly, and theirs might be actually rising. So they may actually agree to something like that and not have any issues with it. I really don't see that much of a difference outside of the fact that they're probably going to be happier to have less taxes and less constraints on a lot of their liberties
Yeah,
and
the
their
taxes are a bitch here. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and a
They're
lot of
crap down
liberty.
here
Hold on,
too.
but a lot of liberties in terms of who they can go see, what type of alternative cares. Because you forget in Canada,
Like you
they don't
can't
have.
pay to get ahead in the line. That's the thing that was most frustrating for me. I'm like, listen, I'll
That's
pay the
not a good
money.
thing. That's not
Just
a
let me
good thing,
have the
though, Io.
MRI. But I couldn't. I had to fucking
But
go
they
to the
also don't
US.
allow you to
Stupid.
try alternative methods to a large extent. And
Yeah,
if
it
you
has to
do
be
get
on their
approved,
pre-approved list. Yeah.
yeah,
That's how it
and
works
so,
here, though. I
no,
can't
no, no,
leave. I can't. If I leave my network, I
You
got to pay
can't leave
more.
your plan. Exactly.
Right, I got to pay more, right? But that's
it's
not a
not
good
their
system.
plan,
That's
but
not a
you
good system, though.
Finley, that's not alternative fucking treatments. That's an insurance. And yes, you do have the sovereign right to go get treated by anybody you want to. That is a fucking right. You can go.
You can,
It doesn't mean your insurance plan has to cover it.
right, and you
That
can't do that in Canada.
you can't do that in Canada. You can't
So
go
you can't
for
pay out of pocket.
wait,
You can't pay out of
Finley.
pocket to
Shut.
go see
You
somebody.
Listen.
cannot.
Stop
Listen, Finley,
talking.
you cannot pay out of pocket in any way. And I've tried. Literally, I had to go to San Diego because it was fucking the only option. It's
You
retarded.
can't get like if he wanted alternative holistic approaches in terms of his care for whatever ailment Io was going through. If he was like, wanting to try soup therapy, fucking just throwing something out there, Canada does not allow that. It has to be approved, and you have to get it signed off by a whole list of people before he can even be seen by the individual to see if he can qualify for that. In the
Yep.
US, you have a right. If you want to do hot stone therapy to cure your tuberculosis, go fucking nuts. If you want to do smoke therapy, dog therapy, yoga with goats as part of your medical regime, you have the right to fucking do that. You don't have the right to have the government in the Canada pay it, and you don't have the right to have immediate access or even access without approval to those treatments or therapies.
Can I
So I
ask a
think I think
clarifying
that's a I
question,
think that's a
Brad?
bug, not a feature.
Mr. Finley, can I ask a
Go ahead.
clarifying question? So you're telling me that if there's goat therapy in Canada, I have to inform the government before I do, like, if I want to take my
It would not be
private
covered otherwise.
wait, Io, that's the point, is what we're saying is that, like, if I wanted to do goat therapy right now in the United States, my insurance is not going to cover it. And you're saying that the government there is not going to cover it. It's the same thing.
No, no, no. It's slightly different. I'll say this furthermore, that the U.S. has like advanced treatments, right? You're all cutting edge in medicine and
Yes,
technology.
I live in
Well,
the state with the best healthcare.
Canada is purposefully delayed. We wait 1 to 2 years before offering the drugs that you guys have, right? That may or may not be a bug or a feature, but I think it's actually like unethical because if Americans have a treatment that is better, we should get it from them, but it is a pain in the ass to do so. Like you're more likely to die than get all the paperwork done, right?
But I couldn't you say
So
that? Couldn't you say that? Like, couldn't you say that there's other countries outside of the United States, outside of this hemisphere, that probably have better medicine than Canada, and you can't have access to those either?
well, it depends actually. So some Commonwealth countries have exchanges, but again, it's difficult. So
I just remember there was a patient of ours that needed this like $3,000 injection, and we found her the injection in Canada for 1,500. And I don't know, Mr. Finley, if this is one of your reasoning of why we'd want their system, is that people would rather wait for treatment than have to pay thousands of dollars. Now, I'm curious about, like, what about maternal health, IO? Like, if a woman is pregnant, does she have to wait to give birth, or is she gonna have? She's
no,
gonna
no,
have the
like
access.
yeah,
You're gonna have the access to give
they have
birth, and then you're
access
gonna
for
leave
that.
the
Yeah.
hospital with no bill, right? She's not gonna have any bill leaving
Well,
the
well, like
hospital.
look, I'll say this: that the healthcare here is something like 70% covered. You still have to pay like something like 30%. They'll get you with the
Oh, okay.
medicines, even with
So if
like
a woman
parking
for
fees, silly
pregnancy,
things
like if
like
you're
that.
delivering, so if you're delivering, you might still have to
Yeah,
pay an
yeah,
amount.
medical
You
devices,
might still end up taking drugs that
pharmaceuticals.
are not covered. That's right.
Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
pharmaceuticals you don't have access to. And again, if you need extended care for, I don't know, what is it, breast implant, like trying to teach latching, that may or may not be covered by the government of Canada. They make the arbitrary decision. Your policies here, again, goat therapy, yeah, your insurance plan may not cover it, but your insurance plans, you have options in terms of that. You can also pay out of pocket. Some of those providers in Canada can't even touch a new patient without government approval. There's another
No, no,
bug
they
out
can't. They
here.
won't even accept cash. Like I came in
Yeah.
with 5 grand
But
of
that's
cash to get an MRI machine scan for my
but
neck
I
and shit, and they were
but
like,
I
"Sorry, we can't."
But IO, that's I think that's a bug, not a freaking feature, right? So, because the reality is, if you can afford it, you can just leave and go get
No, it's done
coverage
by
elsewhere. You,
Exactly. Well,
design.
that's what I did.
It's
but
Yeah.
I'm saying you could, but I'm saying if you can afford to go see the goat doctor, you can just leave and see a goat doctor in another country if you need to, right? If you can afford it, right? But my biggest issue with the American system that like we praise it as being great, it's actually not that great.
we
Like I'm
don't
stuck.
call it great here.
But I'm saying I'm just saying that because we always talk about weights, right? The reality is to see a specialist in America is there's a wait. Even with great insurance, there's a freaking wait. When my wife needs to see those lady specialists, it's a freaking wait because there's not a lot of doctors, right? And the pushback is that well, if we go to the system, we include more people that can't afford freaking healthcare, and we give them access to this, the wait's going to be longer. That's not an argument against freaking healthcare. That's we're just saying our infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure is trash,
Yeah, but
right?
you also have
So,
10 times more
well,
doctors, so it's a
yeah, we
scale
have
issue.
a far, yeah, there's a far
And that's
difference.
who
And
doesn't
we
want us
have
to have the
That's an
9,000,
universal health
infrastructure
hold
care.
issue.
on, like, stop. We have like what, 9,000 fucking hospital systems in the US that cover 350 million people. So that in itself, I agree with you. There is an infrastructure problem. There is a lot of issues in terms of these hospital administrations that even prior to COVID, we were recognizing these problems going on. What the main issue is it's not actually the doctors. We've pushed out doctors, we've pushed out nurses, we've pushed out medical staff across the board. We've actually made it so that it's not as lucrative, it's not as enjoyable to go through. We've made it more difficult. We've made them more, basically, we've made them so liable for absolutely everything that goes wrong with your fucking frame of mind that if you don't get the right happy pill and it doesn't improve you, you have a malpractice suit. We're overburdening these places with insurance regulations. reforms, and things that they can't even treat you empathetically. Also, in America, we have a very different approach to healthcare because guess what, Finley? You're a reactionary. You are not a proactive patient.
What the
You are not
fuck?
some. Shut up before I have to spank
Oh
your
my
little bitch ass
god.
again.
Are you just, look, bro? Can
I'm
you
gonna
calm
sit
down,
there and
bro?
just go through
You're
the
being
concrete show
excited.
because
I've
I
been
get.
listening
I'm
to
gonna tell
you.
you something
Yeah,
concrete.
okay,
I
all right, all right,
listened to
boy.
you try to get
So
at
we've been
Nani,
listening to you
and she
fucking argue for no
has told you
reason, and
no.
now you just want
No
to like
means
do personal
no.
attacks. It's
Harambe,
okay
you
when you
need to
just argue
stop
because you want to
talking.
argue. That's
You
fine.
need to
But now
Oh
stop
you're
my
like
God,
fucking
can we go
getting,
back
talking.
to the topic? It
You
ahead
was
of
a good
need to
yourself
go
by
stop
conversation.
trying to like
and go
make
do
Please.
personal
what you need
attacks.
to
Why
do.
don't you just
Hey,
stick to
go
the
back
points
and pick up
where
my
you're just
Starbucks
arguing
order.
past each
I'll tell
other,
you what, I'll
where
give
you're
you a
not even
job to do.
addressing
Do you
anything
have to clean the
he's saying.
bathroom yet? Do
You
you get
didn't say
that yellow
anything
mop
wrong.
bucket
You didn't
out
say
with the
anything
little broom
controversial,
handle?
and you just
You
want to
don't
fucking try to
have it,
pretend
dude.
like you're some
You are
sort of
too
expert, right?
stupid.
Why
You are
don't you stick
too
to that
stupid
instead of the
for
personal attacks?
absolutely anything. Your Socratic method doesn't fucking work. Now go serve that fucking 16-year-old her fucking pink lemonade drink at your Starbucks counter because we know that's where you work, bitch ass boy.
Your mom,
Damn.
your fucking mom.
Did you
But that's
know,
the
Anyway,
best you
Brad
got.
and
so
IO,
So
so
that
what
again,
like
we
once
know
Nani.
you're gonna do is
So
you're gonna
Nani,
continue to
again.
argue a
Wait. Make sure she
non-argued
gets the
point
little green
because
straw
that's what
with it
Brad
with a
likes
little
to do.
tip on it,
Brad
right?
likes
That's
to
what they
find
no.
got.
disagreement
That's
where
what they
there is
got.
none,
You got to
and
make
then
sure you
say
put it in there. Do you
no,
write the
and then
cute
say
name with the
something that
smiley
doesn't
face
even
on it?
align
Do you
with
know how to do
what
that?
anyone
Do
is
you put
talking
the
about.
little heart
You do
over
it
an
all the
eye
time,
when
and
you
all I
sit there
do
and
is
see Nani
tell
come in?
everybody
You're
pay
like, oh,
attention.
please date me.
What
I
if
just clean
Brad
the
ever
bathrooms
latches
here.
onto a
I just
topic
sit
where
there
he
and take
says
a
Mr.
dump.
Finley, you gotta
no,
stop
I
this.
just,
everything he says
yeah.
What
afterward
I
Please
do?
is
I didn't
not
do
going to
stop.
be
nothing.
a
You
refutation.
gotta
It's
stop
just
this
going to be
shit. I'm
some shit he
tired of
wanted
him
to talk
ruining
about.
stuff.
So again,
Anyways,
Finley and
Brad,
Nani.
did you know that it was actually the Association of American Physicians? Many, like, I think it was during the New Deal when they actually talked about having universal health care, but then it
Yep.
was actually the American Association of Physicians who were like lobbying against it
So was
because
Teddy
obviously,
Roosevelt.
yeah, because like if you have
I
universal
don't
health
wait,
care,
Nani. It's not that I'm against it.
no, 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 let me finish. I'm just saying for the rest of the room that like the reason why people don't these physicians don't want us to have universal health care is that they don't get to charge $500,000 for one procedure. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in some ways that's why you would want universal health care so that you're not gouging the people that are coming to you for your
Hold
services,
on, I got
right?
to take this meeting call, but I'll explain the how like there's a better way forward than just the universal healthcare system under which is being proposed by a lot of politicians that their plans like Elizabeth Warrenite's. It won't work, but there
I
is a
love
better way
Elizabeth Warren.
password, and it's really great to have. So just give me a minute, and I'll come right back to you on it.
I've got to say,
So
I love my universal healthcare.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
I like
so
Spain.
my biggest pushback is this idea that that people would want to get into the American system, and the American system is trash, right? When you argue that the number one reason for freaking bankruptcies in America is freaking hell, is freaking the medical bills, right? And then people say, no, but there's other reasons. No, that's the freaking that freaking iceberg that took down the Titanic, right? Not just steering into the freaking iceberg. But this idea that people are going to buy into our system, which is trash, it is a pay for play system. You got the more money you got, the more you can play in the system. And the argument against it is, well, if we go to the national system, well, you have longer waits. Why do we have longer waits? Because well, more people can get in line. Well, that's a bad thing. That's an infrastructure problem, right? And we can solve that infrastructure problem by simply investing in freaking schools and freaking making more doctors. Cuba did it, right? But then we're going to juxtapose against Cuba and say, well, would you want to live in Cuba? I'm not talking about living in Cuba. I'm talking about they do something that works and it would freaking work here if we did it. The greatest country on the planet. That's my argument. But my overarching argument, and the reason I propose this, is I do not believe this idea that Canadians are going to become freaking conservative like we are in the States. Most countries look at us, especially with respect to our gun policies, is nuts. Most countries look at us with respect to of like things like gay marriage, which they don't think it's a big freaking idea, and freaking the hill to die on is nuts, right? They're much more liberal and progressive, the rest of the developed world, on all of those topics. To think that they're going to become more conservative like we are here in America, which is we're only conservative on things because we overreact to every freaking thing, right? Is also crazy. I don't think that Canada is gonna be read like that. I disagree. And then arguing that well they're unhappy with this elected official or that policy, that don't mean nothing. There's freaking people that don't like their mayors in blue states and blue mayors, but they're still gonna freaking vote blue. They're gonna vote for the next blue guy. They just don't like this blue guy. But I leave it there.
I mean,
Okay,
Mr.
look,
Finney,
look.
to give an
Okay, look.
of what
I'll
you're
say this:
saying.
you can always make more
Do you
money.
know
I
who?
would
Hold on,
prefer to have preserved quality of
Ayo,
life.
Baba, Ayo,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry, I
Finney.
didn't hear you. My
Do you
bad. Go
know
ahead.
who made? Do you know who made the current Canadian Prime Minister win? Trump. So they hate
I literally made
Trump.
that point earlier.
Yeah, okay, oh good. I didn't hear that. Sorry, I apologize.
No, no, you
Trump,
good. You good. Already keep going.
like, is the one that made the guy win. The guy was going to lose, but because of your presence is so stupid, he kept on yapping his mouth. And people, everybody, listen, Mr. Finley, both the even the Quebecians all voted against the Conservatives. The leader of the Conservative lost his seat because of one person, Trump. So I don't know why people are thinking that Canada will never be like America. America, you guys are lost. Anyway, I owe you.
I mean, they don't even let people go into Canada for having DUIs. Do you think they want to be American?
Yo, this I just man, and again, there's everybody has problems, right? IO, right? Like, I'm gonna repeat this because
No, no,
it
look,
has to be
look.
repeated. There's no way that you would trade
I
in
know.
this
You don't
whole.
want to belabor it. Neither.
If you're in an upper income and you can afford to move around, yeah, of course you're gonna say, oh, I would love that system because it benefits you. But the rank and file American hates the freaking system. And then I looked it up while we were talking because Massachusetts has an ACA type system with the mandate that it's not bankrupted, and it is everybody is covered because you have to have freaking insurance in Massachusetts. And they have subsidies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's literally the system that Obama designed Obamacare around, except we allowed freaking the health insurance lobbyists to freaking destroy it, right? But Americans don't freaking like our system. They don't freaking like it. And stop comparing. The next person that compares wait times, I'm gonna virtually come swing at you, fam. Because the only reason that we have freaking wait
Okay,
times is
okay.
because
Look, look.
you allow more people in the line.
Can I respond to
Okay,
IOs?
okay.
You can
Look,
always
look.
make more money though.
Just a quick.
Not everybody is privileged, right? Like we're all able-bodied people who could
It's
probably
not
make
about
more money, right?
privilege. It's about
No,
trading.
but no, but you said you would rather be in debt. And there are people that are in crushing debt where they can't do shit. And I don't think you've seen all these people. Like there's so many people who this Medicaid cut that they're proposing, my state alone, which is like ranked number one or two for like best healthcare in the country, we're expected to lose $1 billion in Medicaid. Like, it's not just medical services you're talking about. You're talking about people's access to, like, even a nursing home or hospice care. Like, these are all things, rehab, if they have, a bad knee, like I do. There's much more things that are not going to be
You gotta stop
covered. And
dropping it
I
like it's
think you'd
hot,
want that
honey.
system. I don't, you know what? That was the 20s. I'm
Okay,
done now. I drop it
okay,
partially
okay.
like
So
it's
check
hot.
this. Yeah, so I agree with the money thing, but look, you can always make more money. I know that sounds like an asshole thing, but you can make more money. You can't make time, and you
Not if
can't
you
get back quality of life once things have gone shit sideways. Okay, so
Not
but
everyone
believe
if
it
you
or
able to
not,
become
make more
it is
disabled,
money,
always
Io.
it is always better to be in debt than lose quality of life or time. I'm telling you, this is a person who
But
paid
people's
for it.
quality of life
And
is
I
also
prefer it with
determined by
losing
their
quality of
debt.
life.
But
Like
people's
I've had
quality of life
really
is
like
also by
extensive.
debt.
and if you become disabled
No,
from lack
that's a
of
different quality of
healthcare,
life. Like, I'll
then
explain it to you this way. Look, I'll
how
explain
are
it
you
to you
meant
this
to
way.
make
Look,
more
I
money?
struggle. Look, just listen. I struggle to eat and swallow properly because of the surgery that I had. I would pay any amount of money to not have that problem.
I'm sorry that happened to you, but medical negligence
Yeah,
or errors happen here too.
it's not
And then,
negligence, it's just
and then
time.
I, and then I imagine having some side effects or things that happen, and then you still get stuck with like $100,000 bill. Like you would be that much more angry.
Or better yet, imagine being in your freaking 50s or 60s, having worked most of your freaking life, and then get hit with something like this, that freaking and that you have to make a decision like for prescription drugs, right?
Are you? Have you ever been
You
in
got
debt?
you
Like
got to
Are you?
argue.
insulin,
You
Mr.
got to
Finley,
right,
these people
right,
are rationing out their insulin.
right.
I had
Because they
patients
got
who
to
were like,
right.
Before?
no, I had patients who were like, do I take my insulin today or do I eat today? There are people,
Exactly.
we have the Medicare system, but people are stuck in the Medicare donut hole. These are very, like, let's say upper middle class people who aren't rich enough to pay the thousands of dollars for all of their pills, but enough to pay, like, get insurance or whatever, might even subsidize Medicare with private insurance, and they're still getting stuck in the Medicare donut hole for essential medications. We're not talking about ibuprofen. We're talking about things that will keep them
Okay.
alive. They cannot afford.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Nani, so I can just better understand your position. Were you for or against the lockdown?
I was for the lockdown. It was good for the
Okay,
environment. It
so
was
then it's
good.
odd to
I
me
had
that
a
you're
great
arguing with
time. I
this.
was making a lot of banana bread.
I don't
Like
I don't
I got to
understand the
work from
Yeah,
correlation.
and the
home.
Help me
pandemic cost us
help me
money. We
help
chose
me
money
help me
over
under, help me understand the
harm.
correlation.
I loved the lockdown. They should do a lockdown every couple of years,
Io, help me understand the
right?
correlation.
Yeah, for lockdown,
Yeah, I
why are you
don't
Yeah.
making
understand the
that
correlation.
correlation?
Yeah, help me
Yeah. So
understand.
look, if you're for a lockdown, you're for burning money. You're not for saving money. Okay, that's all
I
it
don't care
is.
about
That's
But
all
money.
it is.
I
But
care
That's a
about
Io,
I
most
choice.
care about
Americans.
It's
people
life over
living.
money.
Wait, Io, but
I am choosing life over
Most
money.
Americans hated the lockdowns
But
for
we
that
all
I
very
did
know,
it.
reason.
I know. I'm not
For
But
that
saying
we
I
very
all
reason.
did
agree
it
or
to
disagree with
reduce
the
the
lockdowns. I
spread
just wanted to
though.
know Donnie's position.
Right. So
Yeah, my
pause right there.
position is that it helped our healthcare system be able to manage all the people that they needed to treat. Like people weren't necessarily dying
So you
because they
didn't
had
mind
COVID.
spending the
But
money.
They
but
Most
were
people
dying because
hated the
they didn't have
lockdown because they had to be
access.
home with their
They were
families.
also dying because they didn't have access to healthcare, and our healthcare system was overburdened, and it was good
but
for
Nani,
us. I don't care about money
Nani, pause right there. Right.
Okay,
This is
then
unless
this.
I'm in
Wait,
the
wait, hold
strip
up. Pause right
club.
there.
Then I'd care about
Io,
a lot of money.
Io, pause right there. This is my point. This is a great freaking point. Most Americans hated the lockdown, right? Because of the economic effects, right? And so there is a cultural difference. You're saying I could always make more money. I prefer my healthcare or my quality healthcare. I make more money. Americans feel the exact opposite
quality
way.
of life, quality of
Right,
life,
right.
just quality of life, like
Americans
being
feel
able
the,
to eat.
but Americans feel the exact opposite way. This is why when people say, "Well, they're more liberal or conservative," this is
Grass
why
is
I'm like,
greener. Yeah.
y'all are an entirely different culture. It's an entirely different culture, right? American culture is money, 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 money. If it don't make money, it don't make sense. I don't care what nothing else is going on, so long as my paycheck is all right. That's how Americans are. That's what we freaking prioritize. And that's why when y'all make this argument that Canadians are more freaking conservative than freaking liberal, I'm like, no, that's not true. The culture in America is
Okay. So I'll
way
say
different than
this.
everywhere else.
Okay, I'll say this. There's two ways of looking at the world. Money is not everything, and money is the only thing. Okay, and I'm in the latter. I believe money is the only thing. Without money, you can't do anything. So I'm sorry, but like I've just
But you
seen it
literally just said,
firsthand. I
but you
felt it
literally
on
just
my own
said
skin.
you would yield to the money if you can have a better quality of life. You literally just said that. Now you're saying money is
I would
everything.
give up the money. You have to. No. I'm saying you have to
Exactly.
follow the money.
Right. In America, we don't care about quality of life like that. We want money. Money is the number one thing. That's the most important thing. That's the cultural difference.
No, in America, you're making the trade for quality of life with money. You're preferring
No,
to
actually,
do
we're
that.
not.
You're not
We're
doing it the
not.
other way around.
We're not.
I
We
It's
mean,
don't.
just that people have to have the
what's a
money.
quality
People
of
have to
life if
have
you
the
have
money.
to fear your children getting killed in a school setting? What's the quality of life when
That's
you
that's
have
But
another
your
Nani,
different argument. But yes,
when you have your president trying to defame people for using their freedom of speech? I don't know. The quality of life, if we look at the metrics for like social health determinants, and then we also look at like what is it? How long people live and the quality of life. The United States, for as smart and as powerful as we are lagging significantly. The Scandinavians are doing much better. You should try to be like the Scandinavians, not like
but
us.
but Nani, look at how we view money, right? Like quality of life would improve greatly, but the argument against that is you don't want to waste your tax dollars. Put more of your money in your pocket. Even though the little bit of money that you save and going toward the society would greatly improve society and your quality of life. And most Americans are like, nope, I don't want that. Give me my
I heard
$17.
Denmark,
Give me my
Sweden, and
$17
Switzerland.
a year back. You know what I'm saying? I could care less about the schools and the roads.
Wait a
Yeah, and that's
second.
small
Ayo,
and
did you know
effective
that
thinking,
Canada is
though,
in the top six
when we
countries
fall for
for
it.
quality
What
of
you said,
life?
Mike?
I'm just saying that's effective language that we all fall for. But there's
No,
certain
y'all
things
fall
that
for that
only
foolishness. I'm one of the people that's smarter in the dang old room.
there's certain things you can only achieve at country scale, like schools and things like this.
So Canada's ranking is number 5 for quality of life. You guys are in the top 5. Ayo, you should be
Where
happy.
we at? 100 and what?
Child, I don't even
35.
know. Let me look at the list. And this is based on like health, cultural influence, a whole bunch of other stuff. But the Scandinavians, they're killing the
Yes,
game.
No, the
are
Scandinavians
I'm
y'all
are
moving
killing
to
done?
the
Sweden.
game. They are
I'm
killing the
moving
game.
to Brussels. Fuck this shit.
Can I ask y'all? Can I start a ask a question if
Good
y'all
afternoon,
being
Miss
Go
Fifi.
ahead.
quiet?
Yes,
Go
The
ahead,
yes,
Miss
floor is
Miss
Fifi.
yours.
V. Yes, Miss
Hey,
V.
good afternoon. So I'm scrolling through the my phone and I see Stefan Diggs. Did y'all see this?
No,
I'm
what's
trying
up?
to.
Yes, my future husband. What about him?
Whoa, he was on a boat partying. Okay, I'm
And he
looking
had
at it
pink
now.
cocaine.
And it's right there, and the girls were jumping in the damn, calling him daddy and begging for it, just begging for this pink substance in this baggie. And
hmm
I promise you, it's coke. Okay.
Well, Cardi B was on the boat with them, and
Yeah, but Cardi's not in this
recreational
picture.
Yo, is
drugs
she
happen.
Cocaine is
still
popular.
talking? Oh my gosh.
Miss V, you have a
Fifi,
problem
you
with
know
him
I'm not
doing
talking about
coke?
you, right?
Miss V,
Cocaine
you
is a
have a
hell of a
problem with him
drug.
doing coke?
Here's what I have a problem with. No, I don't have a problem. Listen. That's on them. But this is not good for the brand. This is an example. We were talking about what people lead with and all that. Remember, we were talking about guys and the money and all that. I just think it's a foolish thing to blow your bag on what did y'all call them, 304s? I mean,
Thoughts. They're called thoughts now.
Not
well,
304s,
Yo,
well,
Miss
Wait,
yo,
what's
V.
a
I
yo,
was gonna
304?
say
concrete.
I
another name that
mean,
they go by, but that'll be mean of me.
Yo,
I
Hey,
yo,
mean,
brother
concrete.
Finley.
she a hoe. I mean,
What team is he on now? Because he's been
oh,
traded
wait,
so
oh, I
much.
got it. I got it right here because the coach had to speak on it because somebody brought it up.
Mm.
He's with the Patriots. Hmm.
And the coach made a
Yeah.
statement,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah, baby. He said he spoke with him. He talked to all his players every day. I know he was mad at him for this. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, just putting yourself in that situation.
Well, I'm
You
gonna
know what I
pray
mean?
over my husband, because I don't want anything
Yo,
bad to come upon him.
yo, concrete. I just figured out our association, fam.
Go for it.
You are my anger translator, fam. Peep, peep, dude. Brad does do that. He does do that. He'll bring up
All
something
he
that we're
ever
not
does.
talking about, and he will dive in on that conversation.
No, I know you noticed it, and I know you were being gracious not to acknowledge it. And I was gonna do the, maybe less direct way. It was gonna still be annoying to him, but it was gonna be less direct. But then I was like, ah, fuck it, we're here now. Let's just go for it. He can't help himself. It's like some incessant desire to, be the alpha.
No, we were having a conversation about my HOA, and this dude went in a rant about like the HOA getting sued, and he said we, and we're gonna sue your HOA, and we're gonna take all your money. I'm thinking to myself,
Nah.
we? How does this
Well,
become about
Mr.
you
Finley,
versus my
remember what he
HOA?
did yesterday with the vasectomy conversation about patient consent? And
I
he's like,
wasn't in there
well,
for that conversation.
he was like, oh, doctors have to have conversations and tell you that you should talk to your partner. We're like, duh. Like, that has nothing to do with the fact that Mr. K said you need your wife's consent to have a
Nani, can
procedure
I
done.
enjoy a conversation with my homie uninterrupted by you, please?
No, Mr. Finley's my homie too, so
Mr. Finley, do you know how much my mother's diabetic medication has gone up by? $600. So I'm paying the difference. Six
that's
hundred
fucked
bucks.
up.
Six
Was it
hundred
was
bucks.
it was it $35 before?
No, she was
Or how much
paying.
was it?
No, she was. There was something they were covering. They were covering. No, yeah. Does I mean she doesn't take the regular generic insulin. She takes some Jalovi or something. So they were covering it before. Then I don't know what your man Trump did. Part of the things he cut. The price now, the insurance said they're not going to cover everything fully, so she pays a certain percentage. So every 3 months, because the medication is for 3 months, I send her $600 extra. So anyway, like King, but let me not be sad. I don't feel for the people in Minnesota if they take their Medicaid off.
$1 billion of the Medicaid gonna be
So no,
gone.
I mean, if people are angry, they should vote. If they're not angry, then they should manage. I mean, America
Well,
voted
we
for Trump.
did. I mean,
No,
I
no, no, hold
think
on. Americans
no,
voted
we
for Trump,
did.
including the Trumpers. They will feel the heat of what he's doing. There's no, I mean, there's no, maybe we should do what Dr. Oz suggested, that everybody on Medicaid should go for a 15 minutes exercise every day, monitored by government officials. Maybe people should be exercising. I mean, people voted for Trump. That's what Dr. Oz said when he was asked, are you going to cut, or what are the cuts in Medicaid? He said, well, healthy people, we need to subject them to some form of physical exercise for 15 minutes. Maybe that will work too. I don't know, but I'm here. We're just looking at what the country is going to go through. So I have no, maybe I'll just advise you, man. Maybe people should stop eating. I just finished a 2 day water fast. Maybe you should join me, be fasting, stop eating, lose some weight, because your health insurance is crap. God bless
But Odie, what do you think these people are going to do when you cut their Medicaid and you cut their access to their psychiatric medication, you cut their access to their rehab, their like these people are going to go fucking ballistic.
you. Well,
And they're going to
Odie,
go
okay,
Odie,
crazy.
okay.
Odie, do you think we should? I feel like we should pray that we stop letting these institutions take advantage of us. Do you think that God would rescue us from these profiteering institutions?
Honestly, concrete, I don't know. I mean, so that's a great question. There's something that character you have a business, concrete, right? One of the things that characterizes you per se and your business is greed. Then, aside greed, a bit of covetousness. Now, if you add it in the mix with, let's keep aside the greed and covetousness. I'm sure you want to add value. Yeah, you want to add value to society. You want to contribute to humankind. You want to grow the economy. But in the midst of everything concrete, you want to make more money, right? Am I right or wrong? You want to make more money. You want to you even want to kill your competitors, not kill physically. You want to send them out of business.
So this is a misunderstanding and actually a caricature of a business person. Let me just tell you in maybe graphic terms. Ever since I've been a kid, I would have blood rush to my nether regions whenever I appreciated real estate and large structures and buildings, right? And so I've been blessed to be able to follow my passions, my lusts, some might say. And I've tried to work with, let's say, the Monicas and Brads of the world. And for some strange reason, the Monicas and the Brads of the world are very fucking difficult to deal with. In fact, they are very diabolical. They'll undermine you through fucking quote unquote progress reports, let's say assignments, so on and so forth. So I ended up following an unbeaten path of doing it myself. And I thank God that that opportunity was available to me because it would make me suicidal if I had to go to work every day in that environment. And I'm sure you definitely understand what I'm talking about, right?
But
Because
who do you
when
send your
we,
status updates to?
what do you mean?
You don't have anyone to send a status update to,
Well,
or a TPS
obviously, that's
report.
not the argument, right? The argument is when you are subject to them in a particular type of way, it's a miserable, suicidal, suicidal ideation-inducing experience. Less so when you are subject to them in other kind of ways when they actually need you and you're like valuable in the moment, right? It's still a miserable experience because they won't pay you. You'll have to end up suing them. And when you hire lawyers, it is what it is, right? I literally had to send a letter to a lawyer the other day about a job that I did that I have pictures for, got everything signed off. Haven't heard from them yet. Waiting to hear back, and I got to follow up with them on something that I think is a slam dunk that we could easily just negotiate, right? But anyway, so the whole point is, Odie, running a business doesn't require greed. It doesn't require murdering anybody. You can do it because it's a fucking passion that you have and a desire that you have to continue to be productive. And yeah, you do have the benefit of making money, but this exorbitant amount of money versus a worker is like a new, invention, right? It's recent advent in our history. Whereas before, a worker would make one times, a CEO would make like 10 times. Me personally, I think I'm worth at least maybe three times, maybe three times, four times, right? And I'm good because I understand the amount of effort that I put in. I understand how much other people are worth in helping me make shit happen. I also understand that I'm sitting up late night trying to make some shit happen while they're asleep, right? So there's a trade-off. and I've missed a lot of personal activities in order to run the business. And part of that is my own personal desires, but I also do have fucking moments where I wish I was available when I wasn't. So there is definitely a trade-off, and that shit is not easy to deal with when you're looking back, you know. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I would like agree with all that. The those late nights you're talking about, it's um that certainly is an added responsibility that if you're just sort of like um a cog, you wouldn't need to worry about how does the business continue and exist. Um, but then also I really think it's not talking about what you were pointing out with such a disparity between the working person and the CEO. Um, but there is this factor of how much margin do we need in order to keep the business going, and maintain itself. Is that 10%? And then we could sort of give raises to everyone. Is that 80%? And we're just profiteering. So it's always like this fine line when you're running the business of, paranoia that you might go out of business. So you need
But
to keep
the
reserves.
paranoia
You
of
can do 50 times and be just fine.
the paranoia of running a business is based off of a example like a factor of 10. I'm referring to like algebra. So you do five and of course 10, and you also have -1, -2, -5, and of course 10. It can hello.
I
You
think you're
good?
kind
You're
of
loud and
breaking
clear.
up.
You're kind of fighting Matrix.
I
Nathan,
think the
He
Matrix
lost.
won.
He lost to the Matrix.
yo, Nathan, what's good, bro?
Yeah, Odie. What I was basically saying
Are
is
you
that,
snorting me,
did
Antonio?
Odie leave? Odie left.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I got a habit. I'm trying to get over it. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe you
Mr.
got that stuff on digs.
Mr.
No, that
Finley, bro.
that's not cold. That's
Pink
AIDS.
cocaine.
Mr. Finley, I want to understand why we stopped doing the what's it called? The hot seat the other night. Why y'all let that dude come in here and mess up the hot seat?
Too many drugs, bro.
No,
That's not
seriously.
that's not drugs. That's AIDS.
Seriously, we were
He
having a
sounds
good
like his
time playing
nostrils are
playing the
hollow.
hot we were having a good time playing the hot seat and they let somebody come in here and just trash it.
What does a
I'm just
hot
kidding.
seat mean? Is that what you
We
boys
So
can
the
do?
hot
continue the
seat,
hot seat, brother.
I have a bunch of questions that
Oh,
make people in the hot seat
Oh,
squirm.
the
Yo,
Finley
I love the
question
hot
and
seat fan
question and
pause.
answer session.
So
the
Mr.
hot
Finley,
seat just sounded like password phishing though when I was listening to it.
nah.
None of my
You were in
passwords
there
have
What is like,
anything to
what's
do.
your
What
mother's
is
Yeah,
your
maiden
mother's maiden
name?
name?
he
What's
didn't
your
ask. He didn't ask
dog?
any of those
What's your
questions.
favorite
Sure.
dog?
No.
Were
But
you
yeah,
in the room, Alaska?
did y'all ever watch the
Yeah, I
hot
got the
seat?
beginning.
Did y'all ever
Only
watch the
the
hot seat by Jesse Lee Peterson? Y'all
No.
ever watch that?
No,
Oh,
that
it's
is
one of the
terrible.
worst. He'll
Yeah,
start off.
it's in the
He'll
vein
start
of
off.
that.
Yo, yeah, he'll start off the first question like, "Why you a slut?" I'm talking about
Damn.
something
Yeah, I
crazy.
got a bunch of those
Yo,
questions
I
and
it's
love
insane.
I
And
put
was the
Mr. Finley
answer
on the hot
it's
seat.
fun?
I loved
Yeah,
it.
it
But
Depends.
was
Some
it was
we didn't
some
get to
some
finish
women
because
some women get
AWAC came in and
offended.
crashed
Some
it out.
don't.
Because
Yeah, who
AWOC
was
always
that,
ruins
Mr. Finley? What
That
was
was
everything.
that dude's
AWAC.
name?
AWAC. That was
Like
AWAC.
like
He ruins
some
everything.
Why?
girls
I'm still curious why they bent to him, bro.
So so
like some girls will say I'm not a slut. He goes, that wasn't my question. Can you answer my question? If you don't, we
So,
can move on
Mr.
to the next
Finley,
question.
why do you think they bent to AWOC? Why
so
is he so powerful in
AWOC.
his
I
room?
don't know what. And AWOC's my guy, right. But he does this thing where he'll come
He
into
is.
the room. I like everybody. To be honest, that's just my character. King. But AWOC will come into a room and we could be talking about hugging babies and how hugging babies is amazing. He will be the country. He'll come in and just, well, I'm just trying, like hugging babies. Like, what about when they're crying, they're pooping in you?
Yeah,
Like,
but
he'll
why
come
do
in
you think the
and be a
moderators
contrarian.
didn't put? Why do you think the moderators didn't put him under control?
I think Nathan just kind of was nice and just kind of, because normally Nathan would check that in because Nathan was actually enjoying the conversation.
That's why
But
I'm confused,
Nathan
bro.
just kind of gave in. I don't know.
Why?
I think AWOC might be a campaign donor or something for Nathan. I don't
Because
know.
No, I was busy. I couldn't say anything.
managing niggas is
What do you
exhausting.
mean you couldn't say anything?
I was
Look,
busy,
look,
bro. I
look.
was taking care of business.
Why you couldn't
Managing,
put the dude? Why you couldn't put the dude on mute or throw him in the goo?
look. Managing niggers
I was
is
busy.
exhausting, manfinity.
Nathan,
Which is
why
These
you
why,
loudmouth
didn't
fat
mute
ass
him or
niggas
put
who
him in
want to
the
cry
goo?
when they don't get heard, like yourself.
which is why that you have police force that have rotating shifts and security guards and correctional officers.
Yeah, but
So
I'm asking
if
Nathan
you
why he didn't do
expect
nothing.
somebody to have the fervence to continuously manage the behavior of other niggas, you're just expecting too much. People get exhausted, mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and they have other shit to do. So what ends up happening is the amount of problems is more overwhelming than the amount of resolve, right? People get worn down. They don't want to deal with it. They ignore it. They pick their battles. They realize certain situations are much more, profitable than others. It's not that complicated. You should be able to
So
figure it out by now.
Nathan, Nathan, is that why you
You are
didn't
a
do it?
prime
Hold on,
example
let
of
me
that.
find
You
out
are
from
the
Nathan
nigga
if he
that fatigues
concurs.
everybody with your
I'd like to know if
loudmouth
Nathan
antics.
concurs with what
You are the
Concrete
nigga
just
that you are
submitted.
describing right now, you
Why
fat
is
I
that?
fuck.
Hello?
agree, Butcher. I agree.
I didn't hear Butcher. Butcher, what did you say?
I didn't say that I wasn't, so I don't know why you're crying. The fuck?
Making sure I'm just making sure you under. I'm not crying. I'm
Okay,
just
thank you
making sure
for
you
being,
identify your
my
fat
response.
loudmouth exhausting self.
Nigga,
That's
you're
what you
mad because
are.
you're like
You are the
undersized
epitome of
dude,
what you
bro.
described.
You probably mad because you're
So
undersized dude. Don't take that shit out on me,
Nathan, you
bro.
didn't
That's
do
your
nothing because
genetics.
of what Concrete just said, or why you didn't come in, Nathan?
I told you I was busy. My hands was
Yeah, but
tied.
why you couldn't just quickly mute him and throw him down, bro? We was having a good time.
You don't get it. I was busy. I couldn't.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Mr. Finley, let me know when you want to get back in the hot seat, bro.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
I'm ready. Pause.
okay. Let me get it. Let me pull it
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Talk
yeah.
amongst
Wait,
Real,
so we
real,
just
Boy,
changing
real quick,
topics?
real
What? What's going
quick.
on?
yes, we are.
Yo, real quick. Yo, I just got an exterior car wash. It was $25.
Yo,
Try,
Matt.
That
Just
don't sound too
exterior.
dude.
Did
bad.
they put wax
Yo,
on
Matt.
I
it?
need my illegals back.
Yo, Matt.
Wait, Matt, did
That
they
wasn't
put
too
wax
bad.
on it though?
That's not
Like, did
bad at
they
You know
all.
what a
Yo,
good
was it
idea I saw
wax?
is like a subscription to a car wash.
yeah, it's a ripoff. So, Matt,
We don't have
I
money.
hate because those automated car washes are trash.
No, they're not. I paid for
Those
30.
brushes are hor. If you
No,
got a fancy car,
it's
those
in.
brushes
It's
are
in. No,
horrible.
I
No,
don't
I
go
get
there.
my
All
car
right,
I
Mr.
detailed by
Finley.
I
Ace.
work in
Mr.
the
Finley. Mr. Finley, I got the questions. Ready?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Ready, Mr. Finley. Are you there?
I'm here.
All right, cool. All right, so the last question I think I asked you was, um, is the black is the angry black woman a myth or reality?
Reality.
Should we defund the police?
No.
Okay. Should it be criminal to give sex change hormones to children? Yes or no?
Yes.
At what age should children be taught about racism?
10.
What about sexism?
Sexism or sex?
Sex, excuse me, sex.
Sex 7.
Are police hunting down black men?
No.
Can you be moral without God?
No.
Is sex love?
No.
Have you ever met a white supremacist?
Yes.
Are aliens real?
No.
Should a man ever tell a woman his problems?
Yes.
Will Trump win in 2024? We already know the answer to that one. All right. Uh,
No.
are you are you in favor of same-sex marriage?
Yes.
Are you okay with transgenders dominating women's sports?
No.
What is the source of your values?
Jesus.
Are you for open borders?
No.
Do you love America?
No.
Should a man ever have control over a woman's body?
No.
Does racism exist?
Yes.
Are you racist?
No.
Are you not racist because you lack prejudice or because you lack power?
I lack prejudice.
Can black people be racist?
Yes.
What's worse, racism or classism?
Racism.
Do black people benefit from racism?
No.
What should all white people have white guilt?
No.
If you're black, can you have a white spouse and still be pro-black?
Yes.
Was 9/11 an inside job?
Yes.
Have you ever questioned anything in the Bible?
All the time.
Do dinosaur fossils conflict with the Bible?
No.
How would you cope with the revelation that Christianity was not the truth?
I would cope just fine.
Do you have feminine energy?
No.
Yes.
If if you don't wear a condom, should you have a choice whether the woman has an abortion or not?
Yes.
Should father okay? Do you believe that African tribes sold your ancestors into slavery?
No. Yes and no.
Should black should black women be forced to wear their natural hair at all times?
Yes.
Is a man's main role to be a provider and protector?
Yes.
Is a woman's main role to be a wife and a mother?
Yes.
Have you ever had sex for money?
No.
Have you ever paid for sex?
No.
Did you ever subscribe to an OnlyFans account?
No.
Do you watch,
Pause.
excuse me, do you watch porn regularly?
No.
When was the last time you masturbated?
God. 10 years ago, maybe?
Do you think it's normal to masturbate when you have a partner?
Yes.
Is there someone that you've done everything for in the past but would do nothing for today?
Yes.
Have you ever had more sex with more than one partner in the same day?
Yes.
Do you have angels watching over you
Yes.
even while you masturbated?
Angels are always camped about and around me. Yes.
Did you learn about? Uh, oh my God! I'm sorry. This is too much. Uh, do you think black men are genetically superior to white men?
In what? Yes. In what form?
Yes. Sir. All right. We're almost done. At what age should children be? I already talked that one. Wow. This is. I don't want to ask that. Oh, wow. Okay. Is your racial identity the most important thing to you?
No.
Okay. Is it
No, you
okay
don't
to
get to
say
skip a question. Go back, man, Infinity.
those questions? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll do it just because she said that. Whew. I don't like asking this question. Were you sexually molested as a child?
No.
Do you know anyone that was sexually molested
Yo,
by a
what
child?
the fuck?
Yes.
I don't want to ask these questions,
That's
but
what
she
you
forced me
wanted,
to.
Nani? And she forced you to be that way, bro? Come on,
Do
He
Do
man.
you
has to
know
ask the
anyone who
question.
was? Do you know anyone that was sexually molested as a child?
Yes.
If so, was it by an adult or by another child?
It was by an adult.
Okay. Should everything be looked at through the lens of race?
No.
Should we roll back discrimination laws so that we can hire based on race again?
No.
Is it a privilege to be black or white?
White.
Do white men who date ethnic women fetishize them?
No.
Do black men who date white women have internalized hatred against their own race?
No. They want that tax
If
return.
is it cultural appropriation if a soul food restaurant is owned by a white man?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer. I'll say no.
Are white people allowed to use seasoning on their Kraft macaroni and cheese, including even salt?
Yes.
Not so.
Do wokeists and racists agree on segregation? Think about it. I'll ask one more time. Do wokeists and racists agree on segregation?
I understood the question first time, and yes, they do.
All right. Should white people be forced to stop wearing dreadlocks?
No.
Who is the root of all
Yes,
evil?
they
White
should.
people? Who is the root of all people of all evil? White people or tiny-hatted white people?
Oh God, I got to answer that question.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'll take the former.
Okay, white people. Are you against interracial dating? A few more
No.
questions. All
Nope.
right. Are white people racist even if they have black friend groups or black spouse?
They can be, yes.
Is abortion murder?
No,
Oh no. Okay. Have you ever been involved in an abortion, meaning one of your offspring was involved in an abortion?
not that I'm aware. No.
Is as much as 2.6% of white people have Neanderthal DNA? Is that true?
I don't know the science, so I'm gonna have to say no.
Did you have fun?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jesus. All right, give it
Bro,
up,
don't
give
do
it
a bunch
up.
of shit in here no more. That shit was so fucking
Yeah,
retarded,
that
bro.
That shit was
Like
was
that
amazing.
shit was fucking
crazy
That
as
stupid.
shit
shit,
was
Like,
Can
bro.
we
10
amazing.
10 more fun to
questions.
do
Instead
questions
of
to make the other
50.
person
You know why you thought
smile?
it was amazing, Nathan? Because
That
you are
shit was
impressed by
amazing,
you
bro. Y'all boys
are
amazing.
you,
Instead of
you know
50
why it's
though.
amazing, Nathan? Because you are easily impressed by dumb
So, what did
shit.
y'all think
That's
about the
why you
questions?
have a low tier. You have a low tier of engagement with
I think the
anything. That's
questions
why.
were mid,
Nah, bro.
Don't
You
actually.
just
spend
They
time
suffering
all
from
the
None of the
time.
questions
PTSS,
were
bro.
that controversial.
It's
We knew
nothing
all
new.
those
You find
things.
Monica
We could
entertaining.
answer.
No,
We
there
could
was a
probably
bunch of
answer
questions I
for.
asked yesterday that I didn't ask
No,
today.
man, Finity, we probably could have answered for Mr. Finley. We know him that much. Like those questions were kind of basic. Do you
Why
Well,
believe
don't
some of
you
the
answer
You
the
questions.
reading out
I
a
questions
think
fucking
then?
that more
magazine,
Let's
fun
bro.
put
What the
Nani
fuck
on
are
the
you
hot
talking
seat.
about? That was amazing. That was
Yeah, put
amazing.
Nani
Answer
on
the
the
ain't no
fucking
hot
hot
seat.
seat?
magazine.
Ain't no hot seat for Nani, okay? Thanks.
Look at that.
I
I
think it would be
tell you
fun
what, they
to play
said
the
they
game.
want to criticize it, but they won't get on it. Pause.
Because they were basic bitch questions, that's all.
I think it'd
Exactly.
be more fun
I
to play
hate
hot
agreeing
seat
with
and make the
No
Nani.
other
offense to
person
you,
tap.
Manfinity. No offense to you.
I hate
No, it's
agreeing with
cool.
Nani
If you
anyway.
Okay,
tap,
so
But you
you
what
make
would
me
you
lose.
do?
do it.
Okay, hold on. Let me ask her a question. How would you spice up the questions? Give me an example of a question that would be a more hot
You
question.
ask really personal questions until the person refuses to
Your name
answer,
is
and at
not
that point they
Nani.
I'm
lose.
sorry,
Your name is not
I
Nani.
couldn't
Come
hear the
on.
woman. What should I ask? What didn't I ask that you think I should ask?
Maybe who was the first flight attendant that he talked to that wasn't his wife, maybe, or something
Oh,
along
but
those
these
lines.
that's a very
Okay.
that's a question
See,
specific to his.
I feel like you had yes or no, which it makes it sense if you have this
Yeah,
many
but that's not a
questions, but
question.
like you don't
That's
have a lot of
stupid.
open-ended questions. Like
Oh, so you only have 5 seconds
So
or
who
five
was it
words to respond,
basically?
I
and
get
I
you, I
didn't get.
get you.
So it puts
I
people on the
forgot about the
spot. A lot of
five
them
words.
questions.
I forgot about the 5 words because I could have answered other questions with the 5 words. I forgot about that.
But don't y'all feel like you could have answered the question for Mr. Finley? As much time as we've talked about politics, like
So the for
now that
earlier questions,
open
you
border
definitely
answer, I was surprised you said
the
no.
the earlier. Why were you surprised I said no?
Because then you said illegal immigration wasn't bad. So then it's like it contradicts itself.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
earlier
It
you said
doesn't. It
yesterday.
doesn't
You said
actually.
you did. Yesterday you said you're not for open borders, but then you said illegal immigration isn't wrong.
Right. So there's a reason that I think illegal immigration is there's nothing wrong with it, right? Because it's beneficial to like I don't want open borders, but when they do come in, they're beneficial to the economy, and they're helping us with this freaking growth, this birth rate problem, right? And so the
Mm.
only that's why I think that it's not a bad thing. So when you dive
So you
you
don't
dive
think
into it, you
illegal
see.
immigration?
Go ahead.
That's interesting. You're making a distinction between illegal immigration and the effect of it once they're in the country versus having open borders.
Right.
You don't.
For example, in my world, we'd have a comprehensive policy, right? And then when those would sneak in, the ones that would sneak in, I think would still be a net positive, because you're not gonna get a silver bullet on the border. That just never gonna happen.
And
See,
also, open border
that's the.
means that they come in and stay. Does an open border mean they go in and out?
Got you.
Pause.
Okay, I'll be more specific with the question next time. Let me ask you this, Mister. Since you're a pilot, when I get on the airplanes, right, I never put my phone on airplane mode, and I'm always like,
You're
I
asking
forget.
for you're asking for the plane to nosedive into the ground. I'm just playing. I'm playing.
Does the
I'm playing.
airplane mode impact? Does the airplane mode impact the the safety of the flight?
So no, actually it does not. But don't spread that word because I don't want to get freaking crews heart
So
attacks when
what's
they're
the
telling people
purpose
to do
of
that.
telling people to put it in airplane mode if
It
it's not a
the
safety thing?
The FAA is like overly safe, and that rule comes from an old FCC rule that they adopted. That's no longer valid because they're like if you remember when the you'd have like the radio going, and like you knew somebody was about to call because it would do that
Yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, yeah. Yep,
So
yep.
that's that phone signal kind of coming in that's interrupting
Hmm.
that radio transmission. The same principle applies though, like when you're talking to like, because we're using radio frequency, right? And so if you have, imagine you have 172 people on their phones, there's a chance that they interfere. But what they don't know is that one, there's not a lot of towers at airports. I know you guys know that. You don't get a good signal anyways, number one. Number two, the way that because the the phone antennas are all on the ground, and your phone literally has to be in direct sight of that signal, and the windows on the plane don't always provide an optimum opportunity for your phone to get a signal. And so, my long story short, the rule is antiquated. It needs to be updated, but they just
So
haven't
if we
updated
don't use
because
airplane mode, because I
you're not gonna
forget, so
you're not gonna
it's
crash
not
them.
a
You're not
safety
gonna
thing.
crash them. It's not a safety thing, but they're overly safe, so they're not gonna repeal the rule because the idea at the FAA is if they repeal any rule that erred on safety, the public would think that they're less safe, which would increase anxiety. They have their reasons for not repealing it, but you're not gonna crash a plane by keeping it on.
Finley,
Finley,
I
how
got
are you
some.
But
not
it
talking
could
about
distract
the?
the pilot and it give him that feedback in his headphones,
The
right?
chances of that
Okay.
happening are like one in a gazillion.
Man, Finity,
Okay.
I got a hot seat question for you.
All right, give me one.
When did you realize you were a coon? How early did you have coonish thoughts? Right. So those are two different things, right? Coonish thoughts, and then realization of being a coon,
So when you
and
say
what
coon, does
you
that stand for completely opposite of niggas? Is that what you mean? COON?
no.
Completely
So
opposite of
you
you,
know what I
nigga?
mean. You know what
No,
I
I
mean.
didn't. I'm asking. I'm asking
No,
sincerely.
come on, bro. Come on, bro. Let's not play dumb. Just look. It's a hot seat question. You might not like it, but the question is, when do you remember your earliest coonish thoughts? How old were you? When did you realize you were a coon? And then, what makes you persist in your coonery? Go ahead.
All right. Oh, is that a question for me?
Yes.
Oh, right now you're asking me that. Okay. So can you define what you mean by coon
You
first?
know the colloquial understanding of what a coon is.
Yeah, I'm
You've
asking
heard
you
it.
what, but
You've
what
known
you?
it. Look, bro. We don't need to like get into the minutia. So, you've heard it. You know it. Just operate off that. That's the working definition. Till otherwise.
Okay. So I'm gonna insert my own definition of coon and answer your question. So
So, are you
when I
gonna
hear
go with the
coon,
colloquial definition,
yeah, well, when I hear
not
coon,
your
it's basically
proprietary?
somebody. It's a black person who goes against the grain of most black people's beliefs in
All right,
terms of
good. There you
politics.
go. All right, good.
So when I first, my earliest coon um, is when I used to watch. I used to get a thrill off of watching the Today Show, bro. There was something about
How old were you?
I was probably in middle school, and it was just
And
something
why was
about
that
watching.
coonish?
It was coonish because most kids my age was not into the Today Show. They were into like
I
Yo,
don't
Al
see that
so
as
Roker
that
being
was
was
coonish.
when I started to go against the grain. Is what I'm trying to say. I was very
Okay.
much into the Today Show. I'd watch every segment. Okay, I used to like the commercials. I used to watch Willard Scott,
What were your first
Katie
coon
Couric.
thoughts? What were your first coon thoughts?
My first coon thoughts probably came when I saw the whole Ludacris the rapper, the controversy in 2003 because he was a Pepsi commercial. He was on the Pepsi commercial, and there was a controversy about him being on there because his music was talking about Glocks and knives and hoes and bitches. So the controversy came out all over the media that why should Ludacris be rewarded by Pepsi, a company that makes money off of all Americans, profiting off of American culture, but he's pushing a message of poison,
Why
and
do you think that's
it's
coonish?
because it goes against the grain of most black people's thoughts. Because most black people that
You
I
think
knew in
most
my
black people
family and
think that
co-workers at the
should
time, they
reward
was like,
people who
"Yo,
are
let him
promoting that?
rock what he let." I'm sorry, go ahead.
You think most black people think that people who promote violence and drugs should be rewarded?
No, but they don't view it in that lens. They view it in the lens of let him do what he do, get out of his pockets, right?
You think
And there's other people,
most black people
and
think
most
like
black
that?
people that I just debated that issue with would say movies are worse.
No,
This is
no. Do you
worse.
think most black people think like that? Let him do what he want to
Most
do,
of the black people that I was
care
in
about.
contact with did.
But you agree that you can't assess most black people. You're saying the people that you're in contact with, right?
Correct, correct. I'm
All right.
extrapolating
Go
based
ahead.
off of my experience.
Got it.
I got a question for you, man, Infinity. How do you? Because this is what I always push back on that ideology, right? Or that mindset. Because do you think that is unique to black people to think get out of that person's pockets, or is that an American thing?
Yeah, I guess that's widely mostly Americans just don't really care, and they're all about just having fun. And most people, I'm extrapolating, and I don't know this to be true, but I think that most people really wouldn't care. It's a certain class of people who are paying attention that are like, yo, nobody should be making money off of selling a poisonous message to our children, whether it's in the rap game, the movie game, the video game, any game. You should not be able to profit off of the American people while at the same time selling a message of poison to their children.
Do you well, two pieces to this.
So that was my
Do you give
earliest coon thought.
do
And
you
then,
give
then of course, after that, it was the war in Iraq and so forth. Go ahead.
do you give more credence to the opinion of black intelligentsia or just your rank and file black? And I ask that question because, well, go ahead and answer, and I'll tell you why I asked that question.
Give more credence to black intelligentsia or who else?
Or your rank and file blacks.
Rank and file blacks. Uh, at a certain time, it was more intelligentsia. I used to love people like Michael Eric Dyson, Tavis Smiley, people like that. I thought they were like, today is more rank and file. I think the rank and file understand, they get it. It's the intelligentsia that kind of set these agendas and they push it down through various mediums.
I've always hated
Well,
Michael Eric
I,
Dyson. I
I
saw
love
him
I
Michael
used
Eric
to
Dyson,
love me some Michael Eric
no,
Dyson, bro.
but
even
that
though I needed
What?
thesaurus,
that but
to keep up with him.
no,
That was
but
my dude.
But I like him.
what it basically meant was that you were mystified by his wordplay. You were just like one of these whores that are interested in the rappers because they know how to put one word and make it rhyme with another word. When you if you were really listening to the overall message that this dude was actually putting out, is he was basically saying, "Look, massa, I can read. I'm smart. I can
No, but you
say
got to remember,
words."
I'm in
What?
my. You got to remember who I
Some
am at the
faggot ass
time. I'm a,
nigga
I'm
did.
a, I'm a, I'm a late teen, early 20 kind of kid, and yes, I was fascinated by his wordplay, but I did know enough at the time to kind of have a deeper understanding of what he was saying. I didn't understand it all, but what I
You
could
should.
grasp, I knew that
I
beyond
want you to
beyond the
see this.
wordplay, there was a message there that resonated with me. Even though I had a coonish sensibility, I did want to see him in verbal
Con-
joust with people who disagreed with him.
Concrete.
And
I
what
Side
want you to
note, Lion.
concrete. I want you to watch concrete. If you're smart enough to realize this, I want you to watch his early work when he used to be on Bill Maher, or he used to do. You got to watch his body language, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's
I,
like you can see the insecurity in him, and you could tell exactly why he thinks it was so important. Anyway, it's just some sort of like word what's the name of it? Jewish crybaby.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he was over in another room, and Goat and Otis were there, and they literally were doing the "We smart too, master. We know all of this stuff too, master." And it was like, bro, this shit was
where did you
so
say Goat
cringe,
is? I
bro.
haven't seen Goat in over a month. Where's Goat?
He was in some room. I can't remember the name of it. They didn't have a name. It was Vig. Vig is over there sometimes. So if you know Vig, you can go follow Vig, and he might be in there. Wherever Vig
All right.
is, that's where Goat goes.
I
So,
don't know
Uh,
Concrete,
who Big is. All
do
right,
you
cool.
concur with Lion's assessment of Michael Eric Dyson?
No, 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 no. I don't. But I do
you gotta look at
resonate
this.
with some of what he's saying. I can't say that he's like full fledged, but I do think that the constant expression of your vernacular to a high degree is like overcompensation in some regards because he
Yeah, he
does
has
it
this way
like
of trying to mix
to
high level thought with like
is to such a unnecessary amount. It's like, bro, come on, man, we got it. You're good with the wordplay, but come on, bro, tone it down a little bit, please and thank you.
Yeah, I was just saying I do the thesaurus when I listen to dude talk.
Look, but
I'll admit I am biased
Where's
because
your
he
mom?
went to he went to the he went his alma mater is the school that should have been my alma mater. But I just wanted
so
your opinion.
you guys are intelligent enough to understand what like a controlled opposition is, right? So what I'm basically trying to say is that what he does is he's not actually catering to the black community, but for some reason the black community tout like they hold him or revere him as some sort of like special individual, right? But what he's actually doing behind the scenes is just trying to continue to cater to the white supporters. That's it. And as a matter of fact,
that's
he
not true.
actually got he actually got caught in a sexual harassment scandal with some white woman not too long ago, where she was pointing out that after the show he was over here trying to pursue her, while at the same time trying to act like he's a black activist. That's that's where I'm getting at.
Listen,
What
I'm a
about
black
Cornell?
activist.
How do you
Those big
regard
words
Cornell
work.
West?
Listen, I'm
Cornell
a black
West.
activist
Same thing,
lion,
same
and
exact
if you
thing,
put
same
some
exact thing.
good
Just a little
cold
bit.
milk of magnesia in front of me, I'm gonna drink it. I'm sorry. I
But
don't,
but
I don't know what to say.
Magnesia's
it would
crazy.
be different though. So here's the thing: if you're just some regular Joe Blow guy who's admittedly like you openly admitting that you don't really care about the black community, black culture, any of that stuff, you're just an opportunist like most people, right? No one would tout you for it. You're just being an asshole that you are, and we'll accept that, right? But then if you're one of those people who are saying that I've stood with Martin Luther King and I've done this and I've done this for the black community, the black, I went through school and I've achieved excellence, and I'm doing this off of the backs. I'm doing this for you, black people. And the truth of the matter is, you're just trying to get a check. What you're doing is you're using this. You're using these opportunities to get on TV shows so somebody can buy your book, and in turn, you get to reach out and put yourself at a higher class level and possibly be able to get those dates with the white women that you really wanted all along.
And you saying you don't want those opportunities.
No, I don't need opportunity with the white woman. No,
Get out the stock market. Get out the white man game completely.
that's different. That's a
Disassociate
whole
What
different
the
yourself from
thing.
anything
fuck?
that
That's not
has
the
to
same
do
thing.
with making money that
Yo, Butch,
that
you be saying
Oh,
associates
that's
some
you
not the
with
brain
same
white
dead
thing.
people.
shit, bro,
That's what
for
you have
That's
to
not the
real.
do.
same thing at all.
Butch, you be.
That's
It's better when
yeah.
you're on
It's
mute, or
a
when you being sassy for the, But when you try to like make a good point, you say some
yeah. That's
brain
a
dead shit,
disanalogy.
bro.
It's not. There's
It was
absolutely
see
no
you
connection.
missing the point because you a fat coon your damn self. So when you talk about like
Get out the stock market. Stop
amalgamating
trying to make
yourself to
money in
white
real estate.
society,
Stop trying
that
to make
also
money in
includes
trucking.
their
Those are all
finances.
white
So
people's.
you have to create an
Yeah, but he
internal
would have to
economy
get
so
rid
you
of
don't have to
everything
be
he
dependent on that.
does,
Otherwise,
because
you
all of
actually
them are white
you can
men.
over talk all you
Yeah,
want to. That's
so
what
then
you
when
do
he
So
say
most.
like
So
something
stupid.
you'll
like,
have to
"Hey, I don't
acquiesce.
need the
You'll have
white
to
man. I
acquiesce.
could live
You'll
without
have
the
to
white
acquiesce
man,"
to whiteness
we
to
have to
some
call him
degree
out
or
because he
another
can't.
in order
The
to
white
play the
man got
game.
somebody's
That's just a
number.
fact.
Yo, Lion, that reminds me later. I got a question about trucking for you, but I'll wait till you're done.
Yeah, what I was gonna say. The reason why that's a disanalogy is it has absolutely no relevance to what I'm talking about. Is so what I'm saying to you is basically these type of individuals. All of us are trying to make money, of course, right? But the method that these individuals are trying to make money, that's the nefarious part because they're not doing it by just simply going to work. They're not doing it by just simply selling the book on their merit. They're not just saying, "Hey, listen, I'm Michael Eric Dyson. I'm an author. I wrote this and I wrote that. Hey, buy my book." No, what he's saying is, "Hey, listen, you need to buy my product because I'm black. That's the reason why, and I stand for this." But the truth of the matter is, you're just using you're doing the Al Sharpton. You're just
Yeah, you
catering
saying you're a
to
race hustler. I get it.
yes, yeah, and
All right. So concrete, did I answer your hot seat question, or is there more to that coon question you asked me?
So the question was, what were your earliest coon thoughts?
no problem.
When did
I
you
knew something was
realize
coon
you were a
about me
coon?
when I would get a thrill off of watching the Today Show with Bryant Gumbel and
I
Katie
don't,
Couric.
I don't take that as a coon thought. I take it that a
That was
coon.
going against the grain though.
Hold on, bro. So that's like there's tons of black kids who do go against the grain, right? So there's young black kids who are into programming earlier, that goes against the grain. There's young black kids who are into like instruments early, that goes against the grain. There's young black kids that are into like lacrosse, that goes against the grain. So simply being going against the grain doesn't make you a coon, right? So
Hmm.
you understand what being a coon is and how the type of going against the grain, right? So when did you realize that the shit that black people were forwarding and thought were virtuous, you were against? Go ahead,
So
i.e., reparations, right? I'm sure you think that
Thank you.
that's not good, right?
does the
Right?
ludicrous thing yeah, I understand you. But does the ludicrous example
No, I take that.
meet that?
I take it. I take it. There's conservative blacks who agree with everything that you're saying. That
So
ludicrous shouldn't be
even
profiteering off of, you know, destructive messaging. There's a whole
okay, so
swath of black people who agree with you.
but there's a whole swath of black people that aren't for reparations.
Agreed, agreed.
So
But
where we at with
I
this?
take it that your argument is going to be of a coonish nature. Go ahead.
Give
Why
me
do
an
you think?
example. I
Tell
don't
me why you
understand
don't.
that.
Tell me, because you're going to say something like, black people don't deserve it or some shit like that, right? And I don't. I take it that That type of reasoning, right, particularly is coonish. So, but you can give me your reasoning, and then I could assess it from there. So, why shouldn't blacks have reparations? Go ahead.
One, because it's very complicated. I don't think there's it's very complicated. Two, I think that the people that were most impacted by slavery, meaning the people that
Don't
were just
deserve it.
coming.
Thank you.
No, that's not what I said. I said it's yeah. I don't believe that generations down the line you can make a claim like that. Two, I think the people that were most impacted by slavery and set back, that generation of African Americans should have did something. And I understand there was a lot of societal barriers to that, but there were much greater things that people could have done at that time. And to kick the can down the line all these years later, and now I spoke to somebody, I can't remember his name. You know him though. He told me they should get reparations in perpetuity. Generation after generation after, he gave me 5 pillars of reparations. And one of them is the reparations never ends.
Yeah, you're just using that for justification for your coonish
I'm giving you an
beliefs, right?
example. I'm
No, no,
giving
no.
you an
You're giving.
example as to
I
why
didn't
I
ask
don't
you for
think
any examples for
it's a
anything, right?
divisive approach.
So, reason what I asked you for was why don't you want it, and you understand that you could have given an anti-reparations response that was steeped in conservative, good, clean black values, right? But instead, you gave a coonish response. They don't deserve it, right? And so that's why you're a coon for not supporting
Yeah, I'm completely opposite of you,
reparations.
nigga. I am completely opposit of you, nigga.
And when did it
Coon.
become a badge of honor to think that you're better because you're a coon?
I'm not better. I'm just
When
different. I'm
when did
different.
it become a badge of honor to think that you're better because you're a coon?
Hey, concrete. Is that the same as look, boss? I can read now. I'm not like the other niggas.
Yeah, I
I'm
seen the
special.
light. Thank you, Jesus. I seen the light.
When
Thank you,
did you
Jesus.
get
I don't
when?
need nothing.
Yo, that's
Good
black
question,
conservatives for real.
My family can take
Manfinity.
that ass
When
whooping, and we don't have no problem picking right back
Manfinity,
up from the
when
bottom.
did you tell the first white that you were a coon in no uncertain terms, and what was their response? Go ahead.
Never did that. I don't use
No,
that
I don't
verbiage.
mean I didn't. I don't mean that you used the words "Hey, boss, I'm a coon." I mean you signaled, virtue signaled your coonishness to an extreme degree to a white person. When did you do it? And what was their response?
When did I first signal my beliefs to a white
Hey,
person?
boss, did you see Obama? That nigger, he should never be president. When did you do something?
It's probably during my first real job. Maybe with a coworker.
And how
I
did you
can't
do it?
recall.
How did you do it?
He probably
Conversational.
said, "Yeah,
What
I
did you
don't have a
say?
problem with working
I
overtime."
don't know what the topic was. I think the topic might have been the war in Iraq. I was probably against Kerry. I don't know. It was conversational. It came up. I'm
What were your
against this,
thoughts
and this is why.
about Obama during his
I voted
campaigning
for
season?
Obama in '08.
What were your thoughts?
I thought he had the unique ability to unite and inspire the country, versus McCain, who was calling him a terrorist
So when did you turn
sympathizer.
on Obama?
I turned on Obama
Ask
by
McCain to do
2012.
that his voters did.
I turned on Obama by 2012. By 2012, I was on Mitt Romney's team,
I thought you were gonna say something else. Pause. Anyway, so why did you turn on Obama?
mainly because he said he was going to unite and inspire, but the first thing he did, he rammed through Obamacare without getting
Coon
consensus.
response. Thank you,
Yo,
sir.
yo, wait. I didn't know I took the bait. I'm sorry. How did he ram through Obamacare?
He didn't build a consensus. I thought he was going to work with Congress to get more of a bipartisan approach, but that was a strictly party line push through by Obama. Set the agenda, then he got his
It was
team in
So,
Congress to push it through, but there
so
was no
bipartisan.
let me respond.
consensus.
Let me respond. I got this. Whoever that is, not you, man, Finity. So he did try to build a consensus, and the
He didn't
Republican
try to
minority
build one.
leadership said their number one priority was make sure he didn't have a freaking second term, and so they literally said out loud and in practice, we ain't happy with nothing. So
Yeah, but that was
how do wait,
that
how do you build a consensus with that?
because that's the McConnell wing. I'm talking about there were a lot of squishy Republicans that if he was smart about his politics, he could have got them to come over. But
There were
because
the
he was a
McConnell wing and the freaking Tea Partiers. There was
That's
no.
not true. No, you're
That is true.
oversimplifying it. No. At that time after that. So by 2010, I was turned off. By 2012, I was looking Romney's way.
That's how it was. That's where I came from.
So like I was very into politics during this time before I went to work in freaking DC, right? They literally declared the Republicans literally declared war on the Dems after he won,
You
right?
just
And
repeated
so
yourself, bro. I know about that.
I'm gonna repeat it. That's fair. That's fine. And so this idea of you're trying to say, well, he should have just stalled and stalled and stalled and stalled to get someone to sign on, even though his original proposal didn't even go through, right? Because one of his own, was it Mansion? Mansion freaking wobbled at the end, and they watered it down anyways. And so this idea that you have a supermajority in the Senate, and then you have a majority in the House, that you should then say, okay, I'm going to try to be bipartisan, but they're refusing to. At what point do you say, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to move forward. Go ahead.
So he didn't need to have this aspect of mandatory. The problem was is that it was a mandatory thing, and it was a one size fits all approach from DC. He was copying what Romney did because I
Right.
live in Massachusetts. Excuse me,
Right.
Romney did a Massachusetts crafted healthcare, public healthcare in Massachusetts, crafted for the state of Massachusetts. And that's what I thought he should have advocated for. State crafted healthcare systems that were crafted for the realities on the ground in the individual states. But what he advocated for and what he pushed through was a one size fits all approach, and it left places like Missouri, rural areas across this country, um, insurance deserts. Okay, and they had one or two options to choose from, and both of them were sky high. So it was wobbly. You already know about the internet rollout. The website was a terrible rollout. All I'm trying to say is if he advocated more for a state crafted approach per state, okay, he should have used his political capital in that direction over throughout his presidency. And I think Obamacare or what do they call it? Affordable health care would have been a lot more better received. But when you push a one size fits all approach and then put that mandatory thing in there, what Trump was able to take out during his presidency, he took out the whole mandatory aspect of it. Thank you, Jesus. So what I'm trying to tell you, brother, is there were some missteps. He pushed this agenda that turned people like me off. I voted. I was not inclined to vote for Obama, but I voted for him. I wanted to give him a shot, and he turned me off by pushing through Obamacare. And I just wish he took a state by state approach like Romney. Thank you, Jesus.
So the irony. So what you're doing is you're criticizing the bill in and of itself, and not necessarily you're criticizing the bill, right? And you didn't really answer my question. You're just criticizing the bill. You say you should have this way, right? The crazy part about what you're saying is, yes, the ACA was crafted after the Massachusetts plan, and guess who didn't vote for it? The freaking senator from Massachusetts didn't vote. I'm sorry. Yeah, the freaking senator from Massachusetts didn't vote for it.
Who
So
was the senator
so
in Massachusetts?
Romney,
You talking about
wasn't
who?
Romney from Massachusetts?
Romney was not a senator at that. He never was a senator in Massachusetts.
Was he? Oh
Get your
no, he's
facts
governor. No,
together,
he's
brother.
governor. He's former
He was
governor.
the
I'm sorry.
governor of
He was former
Massachusetts.
governor.
Get your get
He
your
did.
facts together.
So listen. I can be wrong about some things, right? But even he didn't
You
support it.
can't be.
I can be wrong about some
Romney
some minor
didn't
details.
support it
No, he's
because
going to
he
So
focus
I
didn't
on
let
think
you,
a
Romney.
one
Affinity,
size fits
respectfully,
all approach was
I let you
wise.
respond. Respectfully, I let you respond. Let me respond. I got a fact wrong. So yeah, club me upside the head. So I misstepped in the fact. But they didn't even support it, right? He didn't
Who
even
didn't
didn't.
support it?
Romney didn't even freaking support it. It's one of the things he tried to beat
Romney,
Obama. Let me
yeah, but
finish my
Romney was
point.
not in
Let me finish
office.
my
The two
man, friend,
senators in
man, Finity. I didn't
Massachusetts.
interrupt you when you were talking. If we're gonna have a conversation respectfully, let's have a conversation, right? So even Romney, they didn't support it because he tried to club him upside the head with it when he freaking ran for office, and the Republicans never offered an alternative, right? Removing the individual mandate does not offer an alternative. Still has not been an alternative put forth, and they have majorities. And then fast forward to now, the president is saying, "Well, I was voted in by the people, so that's a mandate." When Obama, when he was elected, because by the margin in which he won, and the margins in which he won in Congress, was more of a mandate. So I ask again, right? If he can, if because at some point it's like, this is my idea, I want to move forward with it, right? If y'all don't want to sign on, at what point does he just move on and say, I got 60 votes in the Senate and I got the majority of the freaking House, I can move forward? Go ahead.
Okay, that's a statement. What's your question for me?
My question. So you're saying he should have got more support, bipartisan support,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
my
I'm
my,
not
my
saying that he should have stalled. I'm saying he should have negotiated with Republicans, the squishy Republicans in the middle, negotiate with them, maybe take out the mandate, maybe whatever. I don't know what. All I'm telling you is he should have used his political
He
powers because he
did.
was a
He did, and that
I
was
know
He
what
over.
did
he
use
did
his
was
political
he had
power.
a
Nobody's
party line.
job to
He
do
got
all
a
that.
party line legislation through the process, and that's divisive. I didn't think he'd be like that. I thought he was a uniting figure and an inspiring figure, and instead he became I'm going to do it my way, and if y'all don't want to help, so be it.
No, he tried for
So
too
he
long.
had, and this will be my last thing on it because we're going to go back and forth. We're never going to get anywhere, right? If you have a freaking super majority in the Senate, right, and a large majority in the House, is that not like the closest to a mandate that we've had in recent history? Like, at what point does he say, because he did say elections have consequences, right? Like,
Mhm.
at what point is he not able to move forward? Because you want him to be a uniter. He didn't have a divided Congress. He had an overwhelming majority in both houses.
I didn't know. I don't remember the numbers at that time. I thought it
Yeah, he
was a
had a
little
60. He
tighter.
had a
I thought
60. They had 60 votes in the Senate. I don't remember the House margins, but it was a huge margins because they got clobbered in the midterms. But when he got elected, it was
Finley, the reason
overwhelming.
he
It was an
lost
I
by
overwhelming,
understand your
those
point. I
overwhelming.
understand your point.
Democrats.
If I don't remember the numbers, if you're saying is
Well,
he has the numbers, why not just push it? If that's what you want to say, that's fine. All I'm saying is it's not smart politics. It makes a number of Americans who gave you a chance. If you put you in the light of I'm going to do it my way instead of being the
Does
uniting,
this feel like
No,
an
that's
compromising.
not
honest
what he
critique,
did.
Finley?
Uh,
He
Nope,
had
it's
instead
not
of being
so
a
honest at
many
all.
So he's
compromiser, you're
obviously
being a
not giving an
dictator.
honest,
again.
honest
Those
critique.
That's
precedents
that's
are
why I
so
said
already
that's why I
Finley,
said
set.
it's pointless to go back and forth.
It's not
The
pointless. I
reason
have a better
why
understanding now. It's not pointless.
You're full of
Finley,
shit,
the
man.
reason that fucking the Republicans backed off of the original proposal was because, again, Romney's plan called for a state program to be implemented by the states with federal oversight and regulations, curtailing it to ensure care or health insurance to all. And it wanted it to be responsible on the states because they were best in place to manage their risk assessment in terms of their populations, which is not actually that far fetched of an idea. It's something universal. The individual mandate was something that was dreamed up, and I forget the guy's name, but he wanted that in place under Obama, and Obama actually supported that. And that mandate was a taxation, which you're not going to get a lot of Democrats, you're not going to get fucking Republicans to actually agree on a mandate of taxing additional something direct like that onto the American populace. There'll be
It was a
they'll lose
fine.
their
It
seats.
wasn't. It was
That'll
a fine.
happen. The other concerns was the cost to actual individual or independent provider groups or doctors, nurses, et cetera, of how it actually impacted them on the businesses. So there was a direct correlation, and we saw this with the implementation and then the reforms that followed that did occur in the medical sector that did decrease aid and support for people, particularly in rural areas, but also in urban areas where you saw a decrease in medical facilities and independent doctors being able to provide care. There were also exceptions that were in the bill that Republicans and Democrats opposed that stated that, hey, conglomerates, which would be your hospital administrations, the 25-year-olds that drive JAGs, while the nurses are driving beat up Volvos from 1980 and working double shifts, these individuals were basically making bank. And all of a sudden, you saw the hospital complex or the medical industrial complex, including pharmaceuticals, skyrocket in profits from that year, along with health insurance companies that received government subsidies or bailouts, if you will, in terms of their care. So there was a number of reasons why there was wonkiness with it. And its reforms, it was vote in the middle of the night and we'll pass it, you'll vote on it to read it, is basically the crux of it. And a lot of these quote reforms didn't necessarily make it into, which is what was kind of the downward slope for Obama because he took credit for it. He stood in the Rose Garden, he took all the credit for it, and he was citing how great it was and it was going to be, but the impacts weren't necessarily as great as he hyped up to. And Nancy Pelosi helped spearhead this thing. And in all fairness, if you were mad at anybody, you should be mad at Nancy Pelosi, who got her little gnarled fingers in there and started reworking the bill. And maybe Obama had a better draft, maybe he had something better in mind, but really the leadership of the Democrat Party, particularly in the House, was not on board with Obama's agenda in terms of that. And Obama had to swallow that pill and take that fall. Now,
Yeah. So
American people
So
aren't going to read that much, but you're going to have to look at the more nuanced aspects of how that bill was implemented, why it was opposed, why there was vociferous outrage, even on the left at the time of the passing, and why town halls had to be held, and constituents were upset over that.
So
This
So
is
you
such
respectfully,
revisionist
none of that.
history.
So respectfully, none of that answered my question that I posed to Man Affinity. And then secondly, right? Because he said it would ram through. I hate that term, ram through. He had freaking overwhelming majorities in both houses. It's not a ram through, and they freaking took
So
what, a
what I'm
year,
saying
year.
is this.
They took a year.
Hear me out.
They took a year and a half and town halls discussing the bill, and he invited Republicans in to discuss the bill, and their solution was pretty much we're going to sit on our hands. I remember it very
So
vividly, very
so let me
freaking
ask you
vividly.
this, Mr. Finley. Mr. Finley, all of the concerns that he just raised, I remember them being raised at the
You're
time. The
criticizing the
individual
bill.
man. Hold on, but listen. This is what you negotiate around. The criticisms. Why are you doing the individual mandate? Why are you doing a one size fits all approach
Respectfully,
from
pause right
excuse me,
there.
I wasn't done.
Go ahead.
Why not listen to these sincere concerns? Why not take a state by state
Because they're
approach?
not sincere. That's
Thank you,
why.
Concrete.
Stop
Thank
for a
you.
second. I wasn't done
There were
talking though.
literally
My
listening
question is this,
sessions and
Mr. Finley. This
ideas
is
from
what turned me off
everywhere.
to him. Hold on. This is what turned me off is that these sincere concerns were raised and he did not address them with any level of seriousness. He pushed them to the side. Why not take a state-run approach? Why the individual mandate? The insurance deserts across the country. All of this, all of those concerns were raised during and after the debate, and he ignored these sincere concerns.
Yeah,
So that's what made
That's
him lose me. And I'm saying if he was the uniter in chief, as I would hoped him to have been, he would have listened to those concerns and turned to his Democrat minions and said, listen, these are sensible adjustments. We're going to make an adjustment here. We're going to make an adjustment here. And then all of a sudden, he would have had Democrat and Republican support,
So
not in
full of
small
shit.
numbers,
they did
but in
do that. That's why
significant
the
numbers
public
to
option
the
was
point that would
disappeared.
uphold his position as a uniter. But
You're
instead,
you're full of
he
shit, bro.
rammed it through without making any concessions to
And
the
you
other side.
and
And
the
that's
worst
what I
part
was
about it,
disappointed about.
the
Thank you,
worst part
Jesus.
about it is that we all have a recollection of him being like overly fucking attempting to embrace the other side.
exactly.
So much so that people were like, yo, fuck them, you got it, go through it, bro. Don't even
Exactly.
do that, bro. And what you're what Man, Infinity, why do you have to fucking lie, bro? Could you not think of anything else to say why you
So,
didn't want to support
so what did
Obama
I lie about?
other
So
than
what did I
he
lie about?
about him ramming it through,
How is that
obviously.
lying? How is that lying? That's
Because
my
we
view of it.
all have no, we don't believe you. We don't believe
You
you.
don't have to believe me
As soon as
because you
you
can't call me a
as
liar.
soon
You
as
don't
you
know what's in
show,
my
yeah,
heart.
you are a fucking liar.
You
I
don't know
will
my heart. You
confidently
can't call
call
me a
you a
liar.
liar.
You don't
The
know me.
reason
You don't
why
know
I
my
don't care.
heart.
I don't
You
care. I
can't
don't
call me a
care. I don't
liar.
care. I think you're a
That's
fucking
your
liar.
opinion. That's
So
your opinion.
yeah, yeah, I know. So the
All
whole
right. So
point
that's not
is we can
facts. That's not
easily
fact. That's
see.
your
Shut
opinion.
up. Shut up. Shut up. We can easily see that you have the ability to assess in a way that we can all assess, right? You have the ability to see reality and demonstrate that you can see reality. So when you turn off that ability when you're talking about Obama, it seems to be a motivation to
What
fucking
ability did I
deceive,
turn off?
right? That you want to misrepresent the truth and deceive because we can easily see that on one hand, you can assess reality and you can say what's true and what's not true. And we can agree, yeah, you're right, that is true, that's not true. Then when it comes to Obama, you talk about ramming it through, we're saying, no, that's not true. We don't have any recollection of that. Yeah.
What's
And then
not
you talk
true?
and then you gotta shut up and listen, bro. Please and thank
How
you.
is ramming it through not
Can you
true?
please shut up and listen, please?
Tell me how
Because
ramming it through is not true.
yeah, okay. So ramming it through, as you're saying, is not seeking bipartisan support, correct?
No, it's more than
Not
that.
seeking bipartisan support,
It's more than
correct?
that. It's more than that. It's more than that. It's not
Does
just
it
that.
include not seeking bipartisan
Yes.
support?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
What we can see from that is that that invalidates it right there because he sought bipartisan support actively,
But
repeatedly,
there's more than that. As I
persistently.
said, there's more to the
Well,
definition
guess what?
for me.
Guess what?
Yep.
Whatever extra, we know that
Mhm.
he sought bipartisan
But
support.
there's more to it than that.
So
Yeah.
so
You can't just
so
seek
consistency
bipartisan
check.
support. Excuse me.
Consistency
You
check.
can't wait. I'll answer your consistency check, but you can't just seek bipartisan support as a run of the mill thing. It's a sincere effort, meaning you make
So he
you make
wasn't sincere?
concessions. Hold on. You make concessions where they make sense. So all of those concerns
So
that
he
He
didn't
did
Brad
make any
that,
raised,
just not the
I
ones
concessions?
he
wasn't done
wanted.
talking though. So
So
the
he didn't make
concessions
any
that hold
concessions?
on, hold on. The concessions that
Just answer the
Brad put
questions.
forth, the concessions that I put forth, those were common sense
Oh, so
adjustments that
he
he
didn't
could have
do what you
made,
all right.
and he did not address them in any sincere or serious way. So you can't
Therefore
tell
he
me
ran it
he
through.
was seeking.
Because
You
he
can't tell
didn't
me
do
he
what
was
you
seeking
wanted, therefore
bipartisan
he ran it
support.
through.
You can't tell me he was seeking bipartisan support in any serious way when he turns all of these common
Wasn't this
sense adjustments
originally a
off the
Mitt
table.
Romney plan? Wasn't
No,
It
affordable hair
absolutely
care?
was. It
Romney did it in
absolutely
the
Okay.
was.
context of a state
Okay.
government.
The,
He
For
was
some
doing it in the
strange
context of the
reason,
federal government, and he was
Manfinity doesn't agree that this had bipartisan support in any substantive way, and it was originally crafted by a fucking Republican that
it
he
was
later
drafted by a
supported. That
Republican in the state of
he later supported. And
yo,
now what we can do because we
you
have,
don't even want it.
now
You
what
don't
we
care
can
enough
do,
about the details.
now what we can
You don't care
do
enough
since
about the
shut up,
details.
shut up, shut up,
You
shut up,
just
shut
want to
up, shut
talk.
up, shut up, shut up.
You don't care about the
Now, shut up,
details.
shut
You
up,
just
shut up,
want to
shut up,
talk.
shut up, shut up. Let
You
me
just want
finish.
to talk. You
Shut
don't
up,
want
let me
to have
finish.
a
Shut up, let me
conversation.
finish.
Why
Now
don't you
what
want to
we
have a
can do,
conversation?
shut up, bro. Now
I
what
said,
we
why
can
don't you
do
want to have a
since we,
conversation?
can you stop interrupting like a fucking weirdo, bro?
I'm talking.
So
You're
now
talking.
what we can do since we have AI is we can actually get Mitt Romney's original plan, we can get Obama's plan, and we can do an overlap and see how much difference there is and where the difference is. Let's see if we can
The
do that.
main difference. The main
so
difference, concrete,
so
is that
that's
Romney did it in the state in the
that's
context of a state
that's
government. Obama was doing it in the context of a
so
federal
so
government,
so
and
that
that's
that because
you
that's
can
what
never,
that was his
never the two
proposal.
shall meet.
That was his proposal, right? And that was that's the main reason why I asked you in the beginning, because I knew that your pushback was going to be the substance of the bill. It didn't have bipartisan support, right? When the bill was crafted from a freaking Republican plan, and that very same Republican did not support the bill and tried to club him about the head when he ran against them. That's how I know that you're not that people aren't being
Finley,
genuine. That's why I know that people aren't being genuine when they say this whole idea was there was
so
no bipartisan support and he rammed it through. And I'm gonna land with
so
this point. 13 freaking months they debated this bill. I freaking watched this bill. I was freaking undergrad watching this foolishness take place, right? And for 13 months they debated it. 13 freaking months. But the agenda was none of that. The agenda was I don't care what he does. We want him to lose. I don't care. They didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? That's when we this hyper partisanship reemerged, because I know it's not new, but that's when it freaking reemerged. So this whole trying to argue the merits of the bill is dude, it's being disingenuous at best.
He thinks that God doesn't give us the ability to
again,
discern
Finley,
liars and not
before
liars.
yeah, so we're gonna there was substantial differences between Romney Care and to be fair, Romney Care needed a lot of explanation and work around it as well. I think he had an actual thought out plan. I think Obama had a concept of a plan and then kind of took and picked because Obamacare is not a copy of Romney Care. It takes CalMed for instance, it takes a lot of provisions from CalMed into it. It takes some of Texas individual plans. It takes those into play. It took a lot of from the BUCAs. It took some other areas too as well. It's a conglomeration that seems to have been thrown in. And let's remember, it wasn't Obama, it wasn't Nancy Pelosi that wrote these things. There were certain provisions that they all wanted in there. A lot of the administrative state wrote this plan. So Romney
So
had a state level enactment, and it was actually kind of something I'm on board with. I think I would have went a little bit further and went beyond what Romney Care was going to do in order to provide access to healthcare across. But make no regards, Romney was not different, particularly in the funding and the implementation. They wanted like Romney was focused on state specific needs and resources. He wanted those to be that funding mechanism to be garnered by a risk assessor that worked with the state to be able to determine the healthcare overall needs of that state and based apportionment on that, as well as cutting the subsidies to the health insurance companies and having them bid for the contracts to actually manage and work in terms of with those healthcare facilities for each person in that state, and ending the PBM problem that we have in the country. This would be the Pharmacy Benefit Management Group. And for those of you that don't know, it is one of the things that I advocate that we should not have in this country. But most of you know them as Express Scripts, Co-Scripts. There's a litany of them. They're a $1 billion industry, and they're a good chunk of the reason why your pharmaceuticals are so sky high. Under Obamacare, this led to their, I guess, more ability to have more of a controlling stake in the pharmaceutical markets and be able to push out independent pharmacists, which is why you have that problem across the country. And you still have to go to a Walgreens, CVS, or Rite Aid. So you don't get Joe Schmo who's got a little pharmacy on the corner. Romney Care was going to actually support those independent pharmacists. and give them more of a greater stake. In terms of a federally funded program, we're aware that the federal government, like Manfidi said, it's a one size fits all from Washington, who, by the way, not a single person in the House, Senate, or in the administrative state signed on for Obamacare. I can tell you that it's been confirmed. None of them are on it. They have a special Cadillac plan that they all get at a very cheap discounted rate so that they can have the best quality of healthcare in the fucking world at their leisure. So, I
Right.
mean,
They have employer funded healthcare,
correct.
which is
And they
Obamacare.
have a little
That's
bit
what
more on
Obamacare
that,
is.
and also the subsidies on the key thing were massive under Obamacare. We call them bailouts, and a lot of you don't like where those subsidies are going. United Healthcare, Blue Cross, Go Cigna, Aetna, all of those things. Those injections of capital, those insurance markets quadrupled their profits in one fucking year, massively, while being able to say, all right, we're not going to cover this. We're not going to take this exchange. They got to cherry pick. They got to play around in the exchanges and play with people's healthcare. This is something that was wrong with the health insurance industry. They weren't supporting and doing their fulfilled agreement because guess what? They lobbied the Democrats and the Republicans to be able to make sure they didn't have to get those mandates and provisions, and they had their loopholes to get around it while sitting there on taxpayer money, not trickling it down to the actual individuals. Then you had the consumer protections. This was something that Romney was very much in favor of, and Obama kind of snoozed on it. And so did a lot of Democrat leaders that were pushing this through. The protection would have been that doctors necessarily wouldn't be caught up with frivolous liability lawsuits under malpractice, nor would hospitals or other entities. But that there would be protection for consumers to ensure that they were being afforded the best quality of care at the level of cost that was universally applied. Romney Care tried to seek to address that. Whether it would have been able to is another discussion. I don't know if it would. I really strongly doubt it. But Obama didn't necessarily put that provision in to ensure that there was a universal care access. In fact, he delegated the plans amongst Cadillac, brass, silver, gold, platinum, etc. So he kind of forgone that yeah, we want to make sure that everybody's there. If you were on the lower tier plans, you weren't able to keep your doctor, you weren't able to keep your ongoing services unless you opted for the higher tier. This was on top of a mandate to continue to have insurance regardless of employment at any peril, otherwise you would receive a financial penalty from the tax market. The plan, Romney's did some things to address it. It had some inherent failings too, because again, I was concerned about the oversight from the federal to the state level, and having states such as Wyoming not be able to provide the correct kind of care, and even parts of New York where the primary focus of the funds would have been granted to New York City, maybe Buffalo, but would have forgot the rest of the entire fucking state, which typically happens in large states like that. California's another one, San Francisco, San Diego, LA. So there were inherent flaws, and it did seem like something that the rich would have benefited off without any constraints at such a significant cost, while they were able to suck up most of the resources versus the everyday man. These were the flaws that I saw in Romney, but there was ways to address them as well. Obama could have addressed them under Obamacare and the ACA. He just chose a different pathway. And Nancy Pelosi, being the greedy whore that she was, wanted to make sure that her and other leadership at the time got that pharmaceutical backing and that medical conglomerate backing lobbying. They wanted that money in their campaign coffers. They wanted it at the DNC, and they thought this was going to be a huge win. And it was a mix. It wasn't I would say it was tepid at best. They oversold it. It underperformed, and people, depending on your political leanings, thought it was great, and others thought it was horrible. I just say it was fucking lukewarm at best.
Don't mess with Brad. He knows what he's
So,
talking about. So,
so,
anyways, ladies and
so,
gentlemen, that's when I
so,
left. That's when I walked away from
so,
Obama when I saw that he
so,
was not being the uniter that I thought he would be. Thank you, Jesus.
Yep. So again, none of that addressed what I said. Like you're criticizing the bill, fair, fine, that's fine, right? But the bill was inspired by freaking the Massachusetts bill, right? Like there were a lot of similarities. The individual mandate, which a lot of people hated, but that was freaking a Republican idea, right? The state-run marketplace, right? That which was Obamacare. That's from Massachusetts, 2006 plan. The employer mandate was from Massachusetts. The subsidies also came from Massachusetts. But here's the crazy part, and I had to do the Googles to find this out. These original ideas were all from the freaking Heritage Foundation ideas back in freaking
No.
yes. The reason that the Heritage Foundation wanted the mandate because they wanted to prevent free riders. They wanted everyone to have a buy-in, so there were no free riders. And so when I say right again that he opened it up to the other side to chip in to get ideas, and they sat on their hands. Most of his ideas were their ideas. So when you're
So,
saying that I didn't like
so
them.
Finley,
There was,
you're
there was,
incorrect on
let
the
me
whole
land. Let me land. Let me
Obamacare.
land. Let me land though. Let me land though. So
I'm sorry,
so,
but
but the disingenuousness comes from when you say, well, he didn't open it up for bipartisan support. Literally, most of his freaking plan was from that side. And I'm gonna land with this, and I'm gonna leave it here, right? Again, but this is my question for Manfinity for a consistency check. Is the big beautiful bill being pushed through as you called it, rammed through? Go ahead.
Yes.
so
Just checking
Finley, you're
consistency.
incorrect on the inspiration for the Romney care. Yes, it had some leanings into it. There were vast differences, as you highlighted a number of them, and there are completely different mechanisms at play in regards to them. The big overall inspiration was actually the 2005 Canadian Healthcare Service, and even Obama himself gave credence to that. So the Canadian system, what they thought they could do was take the Canadian system, somehow adapt it to the US system, to the US overall, and fix all of the glaring issues that were in the Canadian system. And they took it from other areas too. They took it from like I said, the Bucas, Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna. They took ideas from them. He also took inspiration from other past presidents. Teddy Roosevelt called for universal health care. Many presidents on both sides of the aisle called for it. FDR kind of did not, just for those that are in history keeping. But he took ideas that were from them, but his overall crafting of the bill wasn't just Romney care and then he sprinkled it. It was actually the foundation for both of them to draw their inspiration was actually the Canadian healthcare system, where they thought the idea was sound, but the Canadian system itself was broken, and they thought they could implement a plan that would basically be better than Canada could ever do. And their problem was is that they didn't live up to that promise because the Canadian system will not work in the United States under the current way we do business. We have different laws. Now the state, Romney wanted a state push that would have been better. Like people in California would have had better care. People in North Dakota could have had better care because that funding would have went where people were at. That was the overall crux. Like the majority of funding for care would have been where people were. It wouldn't mean that North Dakota would lose a dollar in terms of its needs for providing quality of care to people. But what it was going to do was basically kind of follow the states so that they ensured that California had a large chunk of had money to cover people for medical. New York had it, Texas again. But states like Oklahoma, North Dakota, South Dakota that didn't need to have this massive spending, they could curtail that back and they could more accurately assess what were going to be the needs, as well as maybe having some muscle to hold the medical complex at large in check. But I digress. I don't think that necessarily would have happened. I agree with you. It probably wouldn't have worked. There was hopes to have that. Obama wanted the federal oversight, and we're well aware of federal programming applying it everywhere, especially with something this magnitude, is not necessarily the best in order. Should the federal government had oversight and ensured the states were complying, providing that care? Absolutely. Definitely agree with that. But should they have been the managers of our healthcare system on a state across every state and territory? Absolutely not. They're just not able to do that.
So the original, because now we're jumping into the meat and potatoes of the bill, and we're getting off of what I was saying. But yeah, Dems originally wanted single payer. They didn't get that. That was one compromise, one big compromise, right? They didn't get single payer, and the ACA was accepted by red states, by everyone, and all the law said was there's a mandate. We're going to provide these exchanges. We're going to give you money to bolster your Medicaid to get more people enrolled, and and that's it. The state still manages it. That's why states were allowed to say we don't want the extra money. That's why they were allowed to do that. All the feds did was send in subsidies. The feds weren't managing anything. But
So you asked
So
about you
so
asked me
again,
about the
Finley,
big
I'm
you're
gonna
beautiful bill.
incorrect
What
on
about
I'm
the
that.
gonna
big
I'm
beautiful
gonna
So
bill?
I'm gonna
Nancy,
digress.
wait, hold
I'm gonna
on.
digress.
Nancy
I'm gonna digress from
Pelosi,
that point.
hold on.
Let's go
You
to
are
the big beautiful
incorrect that
bill.
Democrats wanted a single payer solution. You
Oh.
had some young Democrats that wanted it, but Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the party at that time, the one responsible, was not having that. She was insistent that there not be a single payer. She was at the forefront and crafted that way. You must have a short-term memory if you do not forget her getting to the podium saying,
I'm talking
"No,
about
the
voters, not
single
elected
payer is
officials.
not it's not there," and she was not going to advocate while she went through the ACA.
I'm
So
referring to voters, not elected officials.
the voters don't matter. The elected officials are what's putting forth the legislation, and they're the ones that vote on.
Right. And one of the reasons they sent
This
Obama
isn't
to the
put up
White
for
House was
majority
because
vote.
single
It
payer.
doesn't matter, Finley, what you or anybody else in this room wanted. You elected a leader that to represent you. That
Right.
representative went to Washington.
One of the
Nancy
reasons that we
Pelosi
elected
stopped
him is
any
because we wanted
talks.
single payer.
Hold on. No, they did not. They didn't even
Yes,
know what
yes,
single
they
fucking
did.
payer is. They don't even know what single. Most people don't know what a single payer means for healthcare. So
Oh my
you,
God.
with the idea, Nancy Pelosi leading that charge, saying no to single payer, that was that was your stalwart. Then to top it off, Obama even crafted some of his provision. I think the mandate provision particularly came from Hillary Care, which was under Bill Clinton when Hillary was first lady. She wanted her health care plan. So, like, I mean, you're mixing a lot of things, and it's a lot of CNN tropes and Fox News tropes that you're trying to throw in there, and it's not actually founded in fact.
So the big beautiful bill, Brad, you're on point. Big beautiful bill is ramming through on behalf of the Donald Trump administration and Michael. I can't remember his name in the House. So your consistency check. Does it check out, Mr.
Finley, you
Finley?
should have heard this dude talking about young medical school students who he had to, I guess, like manage their financial aid or some shit. It
No.
was the most
Who?
Manfinity. It was the most deplorable, coonish, jealous,
Yeah,
fucking
completely opposite
bullshit
of
that
you,
I've
nigga.
heard, bro. It basically was like, oh, you niggas only got in here because you're black and you're ill-equipped to like deal with the curriculum, and they should have never let you niggas in here, type shit, right? And I'm
Right.
like, damn, bro.
Didn't say anything like that,
It
Mr.
was
Finley.
re-
Anyway, Mr. Finley,
it
what about
was
your
it was
check
some
about my
really really
consistency?
it was really
Any comment
one
about my
second, sir. One
consistency
second,
check?
sir. One second,
No,
sir.
but you're taking us
One
off the
second,
topic.
sir. One second, sir.
You're
It
taking
was
us off the
really one
topic. I
second.
was in the
No,
middle of
the
having a
top. Remember, we
conversation
were
with him.
talking about your
1 second for
coonery.
you.
We were
I know,
talking
but I'm
about your
asking
coonery.
him about his
Calm down,
consistency check
bro.
on me.
You're
Let's
over
get to that.
talking. You
No,
asked
I don't
him,
got
and
much
I'm
time left. I
speaking
got to
now. I
talk
don't
real
care.
quick.
Nobody
I
cares.
got to
Nobody
go.
cares.
But I
Nobody
have a
cares.
question for Mr.
It's
Finley.
probably
Why are
better
you
off when you leave,
interrupting our
bro.
conversation?
I'm on
Why are you
topic,
interrupting
bro.
our conversation?
Remember,
I
we were
asked him
talking
about
about
his
your
consistency
cooning.
check. I know,
So
but his
anyway, let me
consistency
just
check.
finish.
Remember
Let me
that?
just
Remember
finish.
his consistency check? He
You
asked me
already
a
answered
question
it.
about.
You
I know, but
already
I didn't get
answered
his
it.
response to it. I want his
You
response
already
before you go.
answered it. He
I'd like
said,
his response
okay,
to it.
just checking.
No, he didn't
Remember?
say okay. I didn't hear what
Yeah,
he
he
said.
did. He
All
did.
right, let
He
me
said,
ask him,
okay,
Mr.
just
Philly. Is
checking.
that